So everyone here was either on the last AP sort of session -1, I don't even know what to call it, and or in Julie's case, you did listen to it.
I did.
So all right, so this is going to be our formal session 0. So you guys are going to be playing archaeologists that are looking into the fact that there was a galactic culture of some kind that predates the current round of sapient or intelligent species. And where you are finding the most evidence of that, or where the earliest evidence of that was turned up, is in a couple of places, and where you guys are going to be starting is in something called the RCZ, or the Rhaetian Control Zone, where there is an ongoing invasion of non-intelligent aliens, which I won't bore you with all the details yet. It will become game appropriate later. But it is an area that is constantly, imagine like the walls of survivor cities in a zombie apocalypse. These aren't zombie aliens, but that's just kind of what the culture out there is like.
Proper noun check. How do you spell Rhaetian?
Rhaetian, R-E-I-S-I-A-N.
And what did you say the acronym was?
The RCZ, Rhaetian Control Zone, or Rhaetian Containment Zone.
RCZ. I heard
All
RCC.
right. And you guys are working for an organization called the RDA. I'll explain what that is in a second. And they are assisting the actual legitimate government out there in trying to understand and contain a threat that is behaving in ways that no one has yet been able to explain. Now, is that related to this ancient galactic civilization or pure coincidence will be something for you guys to find out. So what is the RDA? So the RDA, if you read there's some stuff I put on our Discord channel about the history of a few things, but I'll go over it again for the people listening, that humanity is factionalized into a handful of major states and a bunch of minor states. 2 of the major states were in a war, and to what we'll call the galactic north, this would actually be somewhat coreward from where Earth is, but we'll call it galactic north. So up galactic north is a race known as the Serenity, who are technologically a little bit more advanced than humanity and control a substantial area of space and have generally been a quiet and self-satisfied species. They're not known for getting in wars or agitating quite a bit. And they, out of nowhere, went to war with humanity. And at first, humanity did not take the threat seriously because they knew this race was capable, but they thought this must be something more limited because they don't do this. They don't have these big wars. And what happened was, as a result, humanity stayed too interested in its own war, and the state closest to them was about to collapse. And so the state below them that they were at war with basically said, what we're going to do is we're going to send up a fairly substantial fleet, finish our push into this other human state, consolidate the territory, and then push the Serenity back to the starting point. But when they sent that fleet up, and that northern human state sent a fleet down to intercept them, they had already been working through politics and back channels and such, and had already decided they weren't going to do this anymore. And so when they arrived, they signed a mutual defense pact and basically went apolitical. And so it is a kind of, imagine if XCOM was a large military, almost a nation state, instead of a handful of special forces. That's basically what they agreed to do, is they said, we are going to be an apolitical faction whose sole purpose is to defend humanity from external threats. And there's a bunch of politics and economics that, once again, I don't want to deep dive too much here on how they keep themselves funded. They hold very little actual territory. They are almost exclusively a military organization or paramilitary organization that gets a lot of their technology and funding and such from the other human city-states. And there's a lot of politics on why the humans do this instead of just propping up their own militaries, which, once again, I won't dig into just yet. But they also do have some territory of their own that is kept in space. They have only on the ground about 3 or 4 territorial holdings. But in space, they do have substantial space stations and things like that that they use. So, 4 of you are playing, or 3 of you are playing humans. 1 of you is playing a robot, simply known as a SAR unit, which stands for a Single Section Assistant Robot. So he's sort of an all-purpose, it's going to be Brodor. Brodor's playing an all-purpose walking encyclopedia, multi-tool, and he does have some weapon systems on him. He's kind of an all-purpose sort of robot that's basically just meant to fill in whatever holes you guys are not currently attending to. 2 of you are playing Cyrenai, and I'll definitely have some questions for you, so I'll assume you read all that stuff, but let's start with the, we're going to do the pregame questionnaire and group template stuff.
What does RDA stand for?
Raisos Defense Accords, because they signed their mutual defense treaty in the uninhabited Raisos system. And so based on that, they named themselves after the founding treaty document and simply they to this day are known by that document name. It'd be something like if the United States was simply known as the Constitution. Or Declaration of Independence. I don't know which one you want to go with. But okay. So, any other questions before we start doing some pregame prep stuff on the game as a whole, and then we're going to start talking character concepts and who wants to play what skills or what types of characters, how you guys know each other. Are you actual parts of the RDA, or are you civilian attaches? So we'll work all that out. Or are you even possibly a local? Because the local government, because they are relying on the RDA to keep them protected, they do not have a sufficient military or industrial base to keep the Rhaetians at bay. So the local government's very, very happy to lend out help. And sometimes they end up with some somewhat bad characters, because it's not uncommon for pseudo-mercenary criminal groups to basically get sent out to the RCZ as a bit of a punishment. But I don't think all of you would be that, otherwise you wouldn't be on such a sophisticated mission as archaeology. You'd just be grunts, basically, in another bug fight. So, any last comments, questions, whatever, before we do group level stuff? Mm-hmm. Okay. So subjects you want the game to deal with, you guys gave me several last time that I wish I'd printed out. I did not. You said that you wanted to talk about politics and things like that. I actually saved it off in a document on my desktop. I just didn't print it, so I'll fill that out later. Is there anything that you guys did not mention in the last recording that you would like to add to the list, or are concerned maybe you forgot to put on the list?
Aliens, but not like sapient aliens? I want alien animals to show up.
Okay. You're a good area for that. So, alien animals or lower life forms. Okay? Anything else, once again, that was not on the list from the previous episode?
I think so.
Okay. Is there anything you want the game to avoid for personal reasons, such as moral boundaries, past traumas? I know Wayne's is no domestic animals being brutalized, so we'll put no violence
Towards said animals.
against, we'll just call them pets, because I have talked to Wayne about this in the past, and he does not have nearly as strong of a feeling about alien life forms or farm animals. It's cats, dogs.
Seems even.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm cool with politics as long as it's not a slog of politics. Like I said, it can't only be politics. Mm-hmm. I just got off a game like that. It was very boring.
Yes, please.
Can you define to me, the answer is yes, but can you define and also project your voice a bit? Because starting next episode, I'll probably have you on individual mics, but for the moment, we're just using the Omni.
No, it's more just like, as long as it's not an entire episode of us talking politics, every episode, basically. Like, there has to be some
Yeah, you don't want
breaking up.
C-SPAN.
Yes, I don't want C-SPAN the game. Good, that's a good way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I have no triggers.
Let me bring up the big two that people usually mention: violence against children.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, no violence against children. That's fine. And
I thought that was just like a...
Like,
no, it is, but it is, but
Sometimes it needs to be said.
yeah, I say.
I mean, if we walked upon a murder scene or something, I wouldn't be
Right,
like,
right.
no, but like, yeah, I would.
yeah, you don't want the mission of kill the
Touching
young
a kid,
ones.
yeah.
So okay, and the other one that typically comes up is no sexual violence.
Yeah, that's a good
Fine.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
pretty
is that is consistently and always my line.
Yeah.
You can kill dogs, you can smash children, just don't put your wiener in
Oh,
either.
I like how that's
Yeah.
never mind.
that's where you went with that. Not other ways I could have gone.
Yep.
I get that.
You did use a little bit of poor phrasing in that.
Because that felt calculated.
You said no smashing children. Yeah, I'm okay with smashing children. I'm sorry. Okay, is there anything else? I know what you mean. I'm just
Yeah,
being
I
an
know.
asshole.
No, I got
All right,
you.
so is there anything else that you guys would like? Like, it's going to be, you're going to walk out of here in profound offense or tears if there's a subject that comes up. I mean, obviously we're going to do this in relatively good taste. I don't get off on pushing people's buttons, so I just need to know if there are any landmines I'm not aware of.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
If we fall in love with an NPC, don't brutally chop our leg off right in front of us when we can't do anything about it.
Mike!
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
You sick bastard!
No, I'm not. I don't know. I don't want to. This fine. It's not about. Let's talk about dance.
And that was entirely a joke at Brodor's expense. By all means,
Chop someone's leg off.
chop our NPC's legs off.
Okay.
Let's talk about
I'm too medicated to not take jokes personally.
All right, is there anything you want the game to avoid for structural, story, or rules reasons? For example, a topic doesn't interest you, or a kind of rule that's no fun. You already mentioned no political slogs. Is there anything else that you want to the game to avoid? Not because it's offensive, but just because you don't enjoy it.
Well, my question is, and it's not that I have any of this intent, but what about PvP? Be it actual like fighting amongst each other, like
Espionage.
or betrayal, things like that. Does anybody have any problems with that? Like I said, I'm not intending on doing any of this stuff, but I'm just
Right now.
if the
Whatever. If it makes the story good, I don't
Yeah,
care.
you're not intending to because you haven't made your character yet.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
That's what I'm saying. Right now.
right.
I think it definitely complicates things, but I would not say no to it. Does that make sense?
Hmm?
Yeah. Because I've been there.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with it. The only thing I don't want to have is... So, you remember Skies of Glass Phase 1?
Mm-hmm.
Where Chad was, the traitor within the group,
Right.
and the entire game was really note card passing?
Yeah.
And we would just sit there and wait while the note cards were going?
Yeah.
I love note card passing. I love secrets.
But that
But
shouldn't
I
be the
don't
entire
want it
game.
to take over the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put down
And that's
here.
Low.
Yeah, so limit betrayal.
That's such a weird way to put it, too, though. Literary trail.
Yeah, hidden PC side plots and objectives. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, like note card passing happens all the time, and it's cool. Like your character in Phase 2 did all kinds of things, and it never took over the game.
So yeah,
I felt like Chad's did because none of us were in on the secret.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you guys had to sit there and watch them pass cards back and forth and nothing
Yeah.
happening, that's kind of...
It's a very
Might as well just did it in the,
It's a different-
do it in the open.
yeah.
Well, and why? I guess my concern too, just producing an AP, is that's not fun for the
No,
audience.
say nobody
Yeah.
gets to see it unless
Yeah.
we're being recorded.
And are
physically.
we reading them? Is somebody going in later and doing post production and reading the notes?
some of it we did,
times?
some of it we
Yeah,
didn't.
it sounds to me.
I think it's
a
fine.
pain in the ass.
I think it's fine at the table. I mean, everybody should be adults about it. If you're gonna betray someone at the table and you're openly talking about it, so everyone knows what's about to happen, Just don't metagame the shit out of it and work against knowledge you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
There is actually something that I would like to see. That you indulged me in lasers in the last game. I would love to see space ship to ship combat, and I don't mean
Yeah.
bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean bullshit dogfights between fighters. I
No,
mean
that doesn't exist in this setting. I
and I mean like point defenses for missiles,
Yes.
not for fighters. Yeah, so and I'm not saying I want a whole David Weber epic, Honor Harrington thing, but long
Cool, Star
range
Trek.
ship to ship combat where it's all done on screens because we're so far away we can't even conceive of those distances without supercomputers. Makes my butt. I definitely want that.
Okay.
And then honestly, me being a very emotional, loud person, I want to try to not speak unless spoken to. I want to try to be
Oh.
as even keeled
That's-
and non-emotional as possible because I'm playing a robot.
Okay. I'd love
Well,
to
and
see
also
that.
something that we'll get to when we get to character creation, and I will let you, Broder, make the call on this. The group could dictate your personality.
Oh, well, all right.
Oh, that would be fun. You gotta let us do
It's
that.
just Brodor.
You have to play what we tell you. You'll love it.
Can I be Dude Bro? Can I be Pickleman?
You could be Pickleman.
Bro! No, that would not be fun for the
I'll say,
audience.
since you're not a true AI, you
Yeah.
do not have a baseline personality.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
basically, it's when you were booted up, it's like, what do you want this thing to be?
Who's
Gotcha.
my mommy?
Okay.
Oh my god, we can make you like Mr. Belvedere or something.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. I'm open to suggestions, but I reserve veto power for sure.
Clean my butthole.
All right.
Counterclockwise, please. Thank you, Mr. Belvedere.
But how about my clockwise?
But he wants his clockwise.
I want a sassy Alfred robot.
Oh no.
You definitely have veto power.
All right, now this is far less common in this game than it is in Skies of Glass. PC death, yes or no?
Meh.
Always on the table for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay,
As long as
so-
I can make another character. Good luck.
I'm pro death, but I'm also pro backup. I don't know if that's feasible. I mean, am I
What do you mean by
paranoid?
pro back?
He's an AI.
Like he's
Can
an
I?
AI.
Do I
He wants
have
to
a
back up
backup?
his-
Do I
Oh.
have a register?
You don't have a stream of consciousness. So I mean, if you're blown apart and they replace you with another unit that
Right.
basically has all of your data backups up to the point you were destroyed,
Nothing happened.
yeah, it's
Well, then choke me harder.
yeah. I mean, you would only be off the table until the next unit is shipped out and reloaded with the data.
Then I'm as disposable as we're comfortable with our finances and me being disposable. I'm great.
Your program greeting is now choke me harder.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything the GM wants from the players? As I said, you guys, the player characters belonging to a structure is my big ask, which you guys have already agreed to, and I just named the structure you belong to. This does not mean you're going to have people following you around, micromanaging your every little move.
You forgot to initial this box.
Yeah, but nonetheless, that I just want some kind of structure you belong to, just so I have some way to communicate information to you, or to
Guide.
guide you a little bit without micromanaging you. You guys have already given me that. Outside of that, there's really not a whole lot I need that I wouldn't describe as basic courtesy of,
Show up on time.
yeah, well, I don't care about that so much as just, play the game, pay attention, whatever. I mean, just basic. I hope it doesn't even need to be written, but anything the players want from the GM, not from the game, but from, these are kind of plot things you're looking for in the future, or maybe approaches to the game at the metagame level you want or don't want.
Pretty easy peasy.
Pretty easy peasy. Okay, so no. Okay.
How big is the ship that we're going to be on?
I am actually thinking that you're going to be in a grouping of probably about 2 or 3 ships, the largest of which is going to be a cruiser, and then there will probably be 2 smaller ships with it. There's going to be 2 mid-sized warships, one of which actually is a warship, the other which is basically a sensor and support vessel. and then there's going to be a relatively small ship that is kept with you guys simply because of its ability to land. Now, there are also small craft on board the other ships, but this is your ability to put a sizable ship into an atmosphere. Because the standard typical warship is not structurally built, because they're so big, to handle going deep into a gravity well.
Okay, so it is feasible then, as the characters are created, that I could give you like here's a list of NPCs, and here's their history, and give you a whole sheet of NPCs.
Yes, I'm sorry, that is something I should have put in there, is I do want from all of you NPCs and or plot hooks. Now, by plot hooks, for those of you who are new to me GMing, I mean, this could be something like, there's an unresolved thing in your background. Your uncle went missing, you don't know where he is. This could be something like, you owe debt to someone, and that's an open issue. It could be an unanswered question. You have an artifact in your possession, you don't know what it does or where it came from. It could also be NPCs, like you are secretly in love with the captain of one of these ships or something like that. So, but I want you all to give me at least 2, ideally more like 3 or 4 things that I can use to personally motivate your characters. Now, I'm not going to use these as cheap squeeze points of every plot's going to be, rescue your kid from Bowser, but I would like something that makes the universe personal to you. And I also would like at least some degree of PC to PC connection. So you guys are not a bunch of hobos that showed up in a bar. You have some reason to know each other, like each other. It doesn't have to be deep. I mean, maybe you've just been working on this project together for a few months. Maybe you went to an academy together, maybe, whatever. But I would like to be able to draw a line, and even if I have to stop through a point or two in between, to be able to draw a line from anyone in the party to anyone else in the party of relationships. So you can figure out what that is. Okay, I'm sorry, we're on the other one. Is there anything in this sort of level you guys want from me that we've not already covered?
I think so.
No? Okay, I'll split no. All right. Now, this is a question for you guys. Is there anything you want from each other? Do you have requests that, boy, I'd really like to see you not play your character this way or play your character this way? I'll give one I already know from Julia. Whatever role she fills, she likes to be the only one that fills it. She doesn't want to be one of 4 bards.
Yes,
So-
it happens in every one of my games. That's why I ask it. It never fails with my group. That's why I bitch about it so much on the podcast, because every game.
Do you have any particular role in mind already?
I don't. I'm pretty, that's the thing with me is I'm always really open to try whatever and fill a hole. And somehow that hole always gets encroached by other people, other penises.
Wayne.
That's why I was waiting. Brewer slept on that.
Like,
He hears it so often. it's just-
Because I told you I was going to try.
Yeah, I know. And now I'm going to have to start the Wayne list.
For me, I want to be jack
I'm
of
just
all trades.
smiling at it. I'm not thinking.
Oh, I know.
I said it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I said it, I heard it.
I don't want to be the best at anything, and I mean literally. I want to be in a position where whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that your character does, I can assist you in some fashion.
Well, and that's
But
okay
I
for
don't-
me.
Epic support.
I don't want
Yeah,
to
I'm-
have a shtick.
Well, and that's the thing is I don't care about support. It's like I made an archer, and my brother also made an archer.
Right.
It's like great. That's like basically what I do. So that kind of thought. So don't think that you can't take some same skills and stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. So that's my only gripe.
It's like every agility user in D&D now. They're all stealth.
Yeah.
They all use the exact same skills. Like,
Anything else you guys want each other or what don't want from each other? Once again, ruts you think they're stuck in or ideas you'd like to see them play or whatever? Nothing? I mean, if
I want Wayne to be my best friend.
that's going to be really hard.
Is that
Because
a joke
he's hard
or
to be
serious?
my best friend.
Huh?
Yeah.
are you serious or was it? Because you said it in a facetious tone.
No, yeah.
cool with
Yeah.
Okay.
We're like,
Nope, that's
like
fine.
bestest buds.
Well, then I guess we're best friends.
Because we're broodmates, so
Yeah.
we came from the same sack.
Yeah.
Well, you come from
I
two
mean-
sacks, same womb
Same womb, yes.
Same movement.
Same legs.
So
Same
hold on a second.
Our four
So-
dads.
Who's it? Yes. So you're a Sirenny,
Yeah.
and you're a Sirenny,
Yeah.
and
I'm human.
The other three are human.
Also human.
Yeah.
what are, how are you?
Oh, I thought you were for some reason. No?
I'm
Okay.
human,
Assuming
yeah.
you're human? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go.
You're the other non-human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm that. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm team human. I'm made by humans.
So yeah, you're made to be.
Yeah, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm team human.
Can I make you Bender?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so Eric wants Wayne to be his friend.
Man, you got your hands.
Wayne, are you agreeing to that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, put me down too. I'm serious.
Wayne wants Eric to, okay, Eric wants Wayne to be his friend, and then
Wayne's gonna be cool with the.
Brandon also wants Wayne.
I know. It smells like
Drinking
hair dye.
buddies in 2 games at the same time.
This is going to get interesting though, because this now Eric to explain why you are
Oh yeah.
friends with a
I'm
species
already
that humanity's
kinda
had a
thinking
recent
about-
war with.
I'm already kind of thinking about it, but I need to know what their characters.
Yeah.
He had a Syrian
Aren't-
girlfriend.
Oh, you dated our sister.
Wow.
You know
Like I'm
what?
tall.
You're a better man than I am.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the physiology.
I mean-
Yeah, don't worry about it.
You can always make it work.
Well, she's like way.
Yeah,
there,
way up
yeah.
here, but the head hangs down low.
Yeah. 8 foot tall.
Yeah, eight,
I
nine,
bet- I bet they
somewhere
eat
between
eggs.
8 and 9.5.
Is
Yeah.
she worth the climb?
Yeah.
She worth the climb. No, actually, it'd be worth the
She bend the knee.
laying down because
No,
actually, the Syrenny excrete through the base of one of the back legs.
Oh, hot.
So
Nice.
Can't
So it's
wait
like
to go
it's
home
like a
now.
puppy. It's like a horny dog.
Yeah, we won't be going that route.
I don't know. Don't knock it till you tried it.
No, you'd like our sister.
Very leggy.
all right, so where do you guys? We've got a big circle here, like as in there's not an obvious place to start it. Where do you guys want to start? How you guys met? How any two of you met? Does somebody have a character concept they want to pitch out?
I think concepts would be smarter first because we could probably tie in based on what
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, so I
you
know
still
that-
want to do the like security detail thing,
Well, the Syrenny aren't really security.
but they use drones. So I didn't know if we were a security.
We'd be like a
detail
tech
thing.
team that uses.
We use drones.
We're security guys that find like combat distasteful because
That could
that's
be.
what drones are for.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to tell us because
No,
you
that-
said they typically use drones, right, for any kind.
Yeah, I mean they do
shoot
have
things,
personal
weapons.
armor and they are capable of
But they
carrying and
mostly
firing
use drones.
guns. But yes, they prefer to use drones. And even if the Syrenny government or governments did not give you any of their drones, there are
Right.
still human-built ones that you could use.
I don't know. Those are gross. Those are.
Ugh. We could also be. I mean, the ships that we're on are human ships. Correct?
That's correct.
Oh God, this is gonna be awful for us.
Yeah, so we're not going to be. It's not like we could be
How
like.
tall are these
I was gonna say,
bulkheads?
you're gonna bump heads.
How tall are these fucking bulkheads? That we're gonna be like in the cargo area the whole time.
Big enough because the ships they use, especially down towards this end of space, they make large
It's
enough
almost universal.
to accommodate both humans in heavy armor and
Oh, okay.
also a variety of robots. And I'll put it this way: if like all the power goes off, you guys are gonna be kind of screwed because the ladders and crawl spaces are not going to be of any use to you. But I mean, you can fit in the lifts. Refitting quarters to accommodate, you basically take out the bed and refit the way and they use that four pit resting position. So
How common are basically any other race in this organization, since its goal is the defense of humanity?
it is within the RDA itself or within this area?
No, within the RDA itself.
Within the RDA itself, there is a sizable Asta and Tiesin minority, more so Asta than Tiesin. Syrenny are very, very few in numbers. I mean, these guys are on a relatively short list. The answer is not zero, because keep in mind, some Syrenny have outright defected to humanity. Syrenny are very ideologically open-minded, and so some Syrenny have outright defected to humanity. In fact, it was partially a sudden lack of support for the war that stopped the Serenity advance. There were other factors as well. You can read that write-up I put on Discord if you want to see the details, but...
Because I have an idea in the back of my head. I'll just toss it out there and see what you guys think. I definitely know I want to go heavy into the science. He is an archaeologist, very heavy... He's a scientist. And I was thinking something along the lines of, I was recruited for this, and I said, you don't get me unless I get to bring them.
Oh, okay, so we were like, so maybe they were reluctant to even let us into this, but they wanted you so bad. They're like, okay, fine.
We're the wharf.
Now, you two, the two Serenity, would have to be at least relatively moderate in their views. Now, you don't have to be outright defectors if you don't want to be.
Right.
But you'd at least have to be relatively moderate in your view for them to even give you that chance. But that doesn't mean you have to be, bootlicking, self-loathing.
I didn't take that. They seem like they don't like it's a race that doesn't hold grudges.
Well, and I like the idea that you two, for some reason, wanted to be on this mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they recruited me, and I'm like, you don't get me unless they get to come along.
Yeah, and maybe
it's something I didn't try to convince you to come along. You wanted to go anyway.
Maybe our government were like, you need to figure out a way to get in on this.
You need to learn more about.
Find out what's going in, and and if your friend is being invited, we've learned that your friend is being invited to this, and he's requested you to come along. We really would want you to do this too.
Well, I wanted to do something similar to Wayne, but I wanted to be more like the tech science person. Where,
Yeah.
like, I know the more historical tech stuff.
So,
Science.
all right, so Julie,
sense.
you want to be more tech.
Yeah,
And
like
when
tech-
you said science, what do you mean science like as in physical and life sciences, or sciences in like history?
Maybe we can split this in a way.
Yeah,
like,
I
I could
was-
take history side or whatever if you would.
I was leaning towards history and life, like a biologist.
Okay, so history and life.
Anthropology,
So, yeah,
biology, not tech science.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go more tech science and stuff then. If
So
everybody's
okay,
cool with that.
so Wayne's
So we're
more
gonna do
history and
languages
life
as well.
sciences, whereas Julia's more wants to go more tech and physical sciences.
yeah, like I understand like gadgets a little bit more. and
Okay.
such.
Would that in any way, shape, or form extend to like medical?
Probably not.
No,
At least not
it's-
mine.
Okay,
Is that what you're
Not
thinking?
is that what you're thinking is medical?
it's one of the ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, because if that's going to encroach on each other too much, then I don't mind being like the total like bitch with all the guns. Like I'm totally fine
Yeah.
with that too. Like that's so I'm good either way. So that's why if we
No,
can
I
split
think-
it with gadgets and
So scientist or gun bitch?
I think I definitely think it's two very different, because it is really hard for a scientist to focus on everything.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, even though we live forever now, but
yeah, still
still though it's
still hard.
very different sciences.
Okay, well then maybe we went to school together or something.
I like that.
Yeah,
The academy.
went to the academy together.
The institution.
And we can, and then Brandon and I could still do the security. One being more of a physical security person, the other one being more of the
Drone.
drone, setting up perimeters, making sure we have fields of fire and things like that around them.
So one of you's more of a tactician and drone guy. The other's more of a
What do you want to be?
get it done.
Hand to hand.
hand to hand, bodyguard.
Oh, so which one of you's which?
I'll do the drones.
Okay, so Eric's going to do drones.
We're good friends. We
Yeah,
become-
yeah.
We will become good friends.
Right.
We
And
both like techie things.
And I'll step on people.
That's awesome.
and then
I'll just pee on them.
I'll just pee on them.
That's the best I got. No, I'm kidding.
Big old legs.
and
You
then
hang it in
Just imagine one of these things teabagging somebody.
It's basically that's all they do.
That's all they do.
Yeah.
They are a hanging
When
sack.
they kiss you, they're teabagging.
Yes.
Cute.
Sweet. I love getting
Because they're
teed.
just
Yep. Call it Serenity Kiss.
the Serenity kids. The Serenity smooch.
Smells like Fermunda cheese. Sorry, that's
How
From
dare
under
you?
these nuts.
No. We're very clean people. Thank you.
people.
As objective warfare.
I mean, they would be a people. You're saying
Persons.
they're not a people?
No.
That's really fucked up.
I didn't say that.
So all of a sudden, soon you aren't people, huh?
All right.
I can already see where this campaign's going.
Yep.
All right.
You're doing tech.
So okay, so Dot, what are you thinking? Is medical still the way you want to go, or
I think so. I think, being RDA medic that got assigned to this ship and then assigned to this group for whatever purpose. Well, that's why I asked about the
You wanna
science
be
thing,
a
because
Suzanne.
I'm thinking that it should extend to as many, the field should extend to as many races as possible. So with, you're leaning into biology, I didn't want to encroach on that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking biology from a medical standpoint,
Cool.
more from a
Playing some
Yeah,
Fauna.
perfect.
xenobiology, but not sentient xeno.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
A xenozoologist.
A xenobiologist, yeah.
And Brodor apparently just wants to be a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, no, I would like to, I would be able to essentially just have a broad but low enough skill set that, hey, can you go change the oil on the car? Fine, I can go do that. Hey, can
Cook me
you
a
go
steak.
reformat the computer and take care of the
Done.
No problem. What about cooking dinner? I'm, of course, I'm programmed to cook dinner. I can, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
kind of be able to do all of that
I already
stuff.
see one area that you're probably going to be spending a fair bit of time in.
Combat.
No, shipboard stuff,
Oh shoot! I didn't even. Well, tech. You
Oh,
can do some of it.
maintenance and
piloting, engineering.
Oh, sure.
So the stuff actually done on the ship.
Okay.
Well, and I can also take some stuff from that 'cause
Yeah.
it kind of fits into my background.
Right.
So we
Yeah,
can
no, that's perfect,
Pair
yeah.
that.
Yeah, again, I don't want to. If I have the same skill as anybody else, I would like mine to definitely not be the thing that shines. Unless I'm designed like, well, we need a pilot droid, which I don't know.
Okay, so let's work through how do you guys know each other? So, all right, so Eric and Brandon, you guys
I
are
love it.
Womb mates.
you were raised together by the same matron.
Yeah.
So
Big
called
Mama.
Matron mates. I'm not sure what.
Is that our name?
We're bros.
That's what
sure-
we call her, Big Mama.
My notes say
Maybe they have a
sack
like. Would
mama.
they actually just
Same
call each
sack
other
Mama.
brother?
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd have their own term for it, but
I'll say
the word in English is just womb matron.
No, I meant like for each of us.
For each of you.
Yeah, so like brothers. That
Yeah,
would
we're
just be considered brothers.
because they see everybody has their function, but
Yeah.
they're all equals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's possible, and we can create a tyranny word for this, that you might be from the same prot or circle. So, because for example, if there is a merchant group, they would have a Syrian word. So it'd be in Syrian, it would work out to merchant circle or some word prot. Their ruling group is known as Syrian prot, named after their home star. So you guys, in addition to having been womb mates, may also have been close enough in interest and skill that you ended up in the same circle. So even the circles, they see the other circles as equals. They see people within the circles as equals. But
Everyone's-
nonetheless, there are distinct circles. There are
Right.
distinct roles in the circles.
Right.
So it's possible that you guys are part of the same circle.
Okay.
So
How did you come to, like, primarily human space?
I would think because of the setting, I mean, it would probably be a situation where it's like an olive branch, they're trying to, because they're at peace, right?
How long
like, wouldn't
ago
they
was
also
it?
try to be like, hey, let's learn something about each other?
the
That makes
war
sense.
was about 75 years ago.
Okay.
But keep in mind, with people living so long, it's not like this was generations ago. Now, generations of humans have been born in the interim, so there are generations that were not alive when the war occurred, but there are plenty of humans that are still alive from when the war occurred.
There are healthy 100-year-old people that served in the war
Yes.
that may still have that animosity.
Exactly. There are healthy 500-year-old people
Oh, well, okay.
who
I didn't
may
go
have
far enough.
lost a 500-year-old brother in the war, and so it could get a little bit complicated. But the nice thing about where you guys are is you are on the opposite end of human space from where that occurred.
Okay.
And these people are so desperate for help that you may get some side eye, but
You're not gonna turn
you're not the enemy down here.
Right.
Who are the enemy?
The Rhaetians.
And who are the Rishians?
The Rhaetians?
Rhaetians.
Okay, so the Rhaetians are a threat that is not well understood.
Got it. Okay.
Basically, these things behave as if they are under intelligent direction, but they have never been able to find any sign of anything like a hive mind, a directing intelligence, anyone pushing the buttons to basically make them do what they do. They reproduce at an incredible rate. They're a very violent species. They show up in sometimes very unexpected places, and no one is sure how they're doing things like interstellar travel because they don't have ships. But so there are various theories on what's going on, but to this point, no one has been able to crack the code of how do Rhaetians do what they do. But they do not show any sign of a true cultural or whatever intelligence. So they might be intelligent in the sense that if you were to get one to cooperate, it took an IQ test, it might do fairly well, but they do not demonstrate any of the points of civilization or culture or what we would call sapience, the wisdom of existence, not just an awareness. They may not even be self-aware. No one's exactly sure. But what tests they have done, once again, they have found there is no sign of communication between them. There is no sign of them communicating with outside forces, and even when in isolation from each other, they seem to retain their level of direction and their level of intelligence. And no one has been able to crack the code as to how this is working, because it shouldn't work by all means that anyone who's looked at the problem has come up with.
I think I have a theory on them. I don't know what that theory is, but I think my character has a theory. He's written papers on them, and it's one of the reasons he wants to be in this area. That
is a frightening thing to desire, because how they reproduce, they are not cellular life forms. They are basically giant functioning, almost like protein chains. I would describe them that while they are very complex in their build, they are more like biological robots than a regular life form, which is why I intentionally asked them when both Tim and then later Keith Curtis did their takes on interpreting the race. I said I want them to be reminiscent of viruses, because that's sort of how I view them. They have specialized what you can call organelles, but they do not have any true organs. They do not have specialized tissue because they don't have tissue. And so they're a huge anomaly. There is no other species like them that has been found
Julia?
at the macro life form scale.
What do you think about you and I have been working on a paper on them?
Sure.
And how they reproduce.
Like a joint. We're working on a joint theory of.
It's a working thesis.
Yeah, you describe them as like biological robots. And
Yep.
Maybe there's technology involved. Maybe there's not. I think we've worked on it together, at least some.
And they how they reproduce is what the process, how it appears from the outside. What actually happens is the body simply begins to fragment into a substantial number of offspring. So they appear to just suddenly stop, keel over, and just turn to dust. And then suddenly that dust scatters under every rock and every tree and begins feeding. And it's only a matter of time before that one parent suddenly gives rise to an entire colony of
So they're like the orcs from 40K.
Yeah, I'm thinking definitely it's not his life mission or anything, but
That's
it
something
is.
we've been working on.
It is something I think we've worked on together and written papers. Theoretically,
That was our thesis.
I don't think I've ever actually seen one in person.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is your first time out on the front?
Yes.
Okay.
We could be young, like just out of academy or
Because so far, what we'll call prior civilization, technology, or culture has only been spotted in 3 places. It's been dug up in the Rhaetian zone, or the Rhaetian control zone, which they don't know if that is why the last round of Galactic Society disappeared, or if these are related, or if this is coincidence. The Asta, of course, have remnants of the parent species that created them, because the Asta are human-alien hybrids. And the aliens that the Asta wiped out, what we would call their father race, was wiped out about 2,000 years ago. So they know that that society participated, and there's some technological remnant there that between the Astas and the humans, they keep very carefully guarded and hidden.
Yeah, from what I understand, humans generally aren't allowed on the station.
No, humans are, but even then, only in very limited numbers. Even the Asta limit the number of themselves that are allowed on what's called Old Halianita, which is the last full-blown functioning like mothership base from this alien race. And they very tightly control who has access to it. And then the most technologically sophisticated race out there, the Eodim, are believed to have gone back that far, because by the time everyone else came on the scene, they were already technologically advanced and well spread out. So they are thought to have been there when the prior galactic civilization existed, and maybe it's only survivors. But they don't like to talk about it. And indeed, they don't like talking to much of anyone. They do what diplomacy they do through a client race.
Yeah, I think for me, this is my first time making it out here.
Same.
And he's never actually seen any of it. He has a lot of theory, but hasn't had a lot of hands-on until.
Okay, so you and Julia went to
What do
some
you call
form.
college?
Well, that was going to be the next question. Now, did you guys go through a civilian research program outside of the RDA and then join the RDA? Are you civilian attaches to the RDA? Or were you actually trained in a science program inside of the RDA? And then, so you're...
What would be easier for plot-wise for you?
I think...
Because I'm indifferent.
I think it would be easier if you guys, whether you went to an RDA academy or an independent academy, are actually enlisted in the organization in a science role.
Maybe they wouldn't have sent anybody out there unless they were.
Yeah, so I would say we're part of the RDA Academy.
It would also mean you're privy to a lot of information that they would otherwise keep classified.
Right.
Okay, then I would say
Yeah.
yeah.
Access.
I think I was a professor at a civilian college, and then that opportunity came in, and then I enlisted because I could actually get my hands on things. And
I won him
So Wayne's Indiana Jones.
You won him?
in like a bet.
No, they used to hand them out.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
You just hand him
No, I'm serious.
I asked for him.
Yeah.
I just asked for him.
Within
Just
no,
mentioned.
it's
I own him is my point.
happy 75th birthday, you get a Brodor.
I was gonna say they may have been like somebody shows up,
Oh, maybe he's better.
with Brobot and
Aw.
basically like I need someone to sign for this. So you're the one that signed
Yeah,
for
so
it.
I technically boot him up and everything.
We call
And I'm
him
the techie one, so I
Robot.
probably should.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robot.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, like
Robot, the robot.
Okay. So then, how did Eric and Brandon? How did you guys get to know Wayne?
What I'm thinking is, so the two of you are relatively young, right?
I'm not that young. I'm not hundreds of years old. I was thinking about 75.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about we're older than that?
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask you how old.
There was a enemy mine situation where the two of us were stranded with your father, and we got to know them. You know, we helped each other survive and things like that. And then when we were finally rescued by our people, we kept in touch, and that's how we know you. So we look at you as like our little nephew.
Yeah, and I grew up knowing you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's
I like
why.
that.
Like I said, I don't think they would. They don't seem like they'd hold a grudge. So maybe it's more like because of that situation, we respect humans. In a way.
Yeah, we're like, oh yeah, this is just like
I've got a weird, they're my older brothers thought process.
No, in an enemy mine sort of situation would make some degree of sense because during the conflict, the idea that a couple of ships would meet and basically mutually shoot each other up and kind of end up in a draw with all the ships ruined and stranded, and they have to kind of work together to survive because you're out in the middle of nothing. You're out in the middle of the void.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And you have to figure out what you can do, and suddenly when allies are in short supply, you're not as picky anymore about if the humans had this and you had that, then eventually somebody's going to make the attempt, and maybe in the course of that, yeah, that those issues got broken down or whatever. So, all right, so
And the next thing you know, you're
We have a respect. We have a
playing
respect
soccer
for
on
like
Christmas.
mutual curiosity.
So, Wayne,
Because
is
both
your
races
father
are
still
races.
alive? Because if so, that becomes an NPC for one of the three of you to develop.
Killed him.
Even he's alive, Audie's dead. He's
Damn.
dead.
Okay, how he died may be an interesting plot hook.
We had to eat him.
Would you like to say hello to your father?
Well, or maybe his dad. Maybe was your dad the first one to offer the olive branch, and in a misunderstanding, he got shot. But like his dying words were, "Don't retaliate."
I was thinking maybe
Not to you, but to his crew was, "Don't retaliate. You have to make this work to survive."
I was thinking maybe he got killed by the Reations.
Well, they shipped him from the Syrian front to the Rhaetian front. If that's the case, he did something bad. So that may be it. Is they may be worried
maybe
he's a sympathizer.
In that,
Yeah, I need some time to think about what he did. But
Okay, so maybe I'm going to put here just as a note. So maybe I'm put a question mark. But Wayne's dad got shipped to the RCZ to on concern he might have become a sympathizer. And maybe it's a total lie, and maybe their thought was, well, we'll put him on one tour out there, and just to see where his head's at, and give him a psych eval and whatnot, and he never came back. And maybe at that point, you guys get word he died somehow, and maybe you seek him out because you almost feel,
like responsible. Cause
Yeah, or at
if
least
look,
tied to him.
if he
Also-
was accused of being a sympathizer, maybe it was because
yeah,
he
so I was
helped
wondering,
us
is it
survive.
because of
Yeah.
that whole incident?
Also-
Maybe he gave up. He had to give up some sensitive technology or something like
Right.
that for all of us to
Okay.
survive.
Or he
So-
let you guys
It also
live
ties
without
us to
people.
why we're there now because
So-
we're familiar with this sector, right?
So that loss created a sense of, I don't know,
responsibility.
a camaraderie, whatever you call it, responsibility between Eric / Brandon and Wayne. Okay, before we keep developing you guys, I don't want to build a city and have a street corner utterly undeveloped. Dot, what are you thinking? How do you fit into this? Who do you know? What do you know? Where'd you come from?
Where'd you come from? Where'd you go?
Really great questions. So I'm thinking that she's also the character. I don't know. She probably also younger,
Okay.
and this is like a first mission for her. Essentially, like this is
Fresh out of the academy.
yeah,
Dipping her
it's fresh
toes.
yeah. If you're gonna dip your toes in, you might as well just
So you
jump.
may truly be young, like 20.
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking that she's like the youngest.
Yeah.
Just a baby.
Okay, so Dot, we're looking at possibly RDA this is your first assignment.
You may have
So-
had to pass
so-
his class to get into medical school.
Yeah.
Because humans live so long, how are the young viewed? Because now we only
the generations today.
Yeah, right. Am I just a youth?
It's like the first 100 years seen as basically like a teenager, or like their 20s.
No, because humans still mature at the same age as before. It's basically once you reach your genetic prime, which depending on the person is somewhere between about 22 and 30, with most people averaging about the 25 to 27 range,
Yeah.
which is where you're at your physical and mental prime. But humans still mature to that point at the same rate. But then they just stop. They just stop aging and forever.
So we look how old?
25. You all look about 25.
Love it.
You're just vampires.
So when you
Can this
say,
just exist in
when
real
you say
life?
medical, are you
I don't
focused
know.
on human medicine or ever?
I think I
All the
want to
races.
go all encompassing.
I like that, and I like the idea of.
Her having
I
to
was-
pass her
yeah, I
class.
was one of your classes.
Okay, perfect.
You still call him professor?
Yeah,
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
we'll do that.
And I can just be a colleague, by the way, Wayne. Like, I work in the tech department or whatever of the academy.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Do we?
You're married.
I was actually going to suggest you could be her mother, even if you wanted,
It's up to you.
age-wise.
Oh, we can really do
Or
something. And we
sisters,
are
or-
married, and that is our kid.
Put down Brandon wants them. To,
So Julia and Wayne are married.
This is like a family trip.
and
Worst vacation ever.
We've never gone on a vacation before.
Oh my god.
I mean, are you guys? Do you guys want to do that?
I'm not against
I'm
it.
down with it.
Rhoda, you gotta practice your danger.
Danger, danger, Will Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're get to say that. No.
Look at his face. He does not want to do that. He's
So
just
Julia
like,
and Wayne are married.
now.
Well, okay, hold on a
Yeah.
minute. Is this really happening?
I think so. I think it'd be cool.
That is their
Okay.
child.
I'm all for it.
I think it'd be fun.
Okay, that also does tie you to Wayne's dad because
Yeah,
that's your
that's my
father-in-law.
father-in-law.
You may have known him.
His grandpa.
My grandpa.
Keep in mind, you and Wayne do not
Oh,
have to
and
be
then-
the same age.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
got
So Wayne could be 75, you could be 280.
Oh, I'm
Robin the
no, I'm not
Cradle.
older than that.
And what is the?
When you live that old, we
Yeah,
probably
I'm-
spent decades apart.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, dude. There's no way. The divorce rate must be 100%.
Yeah, I could even. Yeah,
So,
yeah. How does family units work?
How does that work?
Like, how do family units work like this?
Family
Like,
units tend to fragment and lose track of each other.
but not like immediate.
No.
Okay.
But think of it this way: you have a mother and father who, let's say, they're really big into having kids for whatever reason.
They have like 50 kids.
They could have 1,000 kids.
On different planets.
like,
Yeah,
poor
and
vagina.
at some point, you cannot possibly.
I got a
You
get-
just stopped popping them out.
I mean, just trying to
I wrote 25,
trying to
but-
figure out who to invite to a wedding without renting a planet eventually becomes a mathematical reality.
Yeah. You're perpetually 25 with no menopause.
dude, I cannot
I mean,
be
it's
dating
so weird.
someone
Yeah.
and then
I
and
mean,
then their
snap back
great
immediately.
great
I mean, it
great
doesn't
grandma
have
was
nanotech.
fucking
Nanotech
awesome.
level.
Constantly rebuilding
No.
you.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
You
so
don't feel pain.
when you have this
You,
level
like-
of tag, it does. I'm not saying.
Of the two women who've had kids in the room. Ugh.
Yeah. fuck that.
How does incest? Wincest? How does Wincest get viewed? Because I feel like with the science and technology,
With the amount
like,
of people.
the
yeah.
amount
All
of
right.
people, and
It has to be like.
Let me explain this as best as I understand this, the genetics behind it. I have never. There are a couple things in the setting I have intentionally very much avoided getting into
And Broner's going to make you think about it.
because they either A, get too controversial or B, get too creepy.
that's
now,
me.
All right. My understanding of why actual real world incest is such a problem is because genetic errors,
Yep.
when they line up, so let's say the fingers I've got withdrawn are the errors in your genetic code. The likelihood that if I and one of my sisters had a kid, the kid would be a flipper baby is because of the fact that these genetic errors would basically line up and complicate each other.
You both have them, so it's more likely for it to become
Right.
rounds.
As opposed to, say, this, where dad has genetic errors and mom has genetic errors, but they're different. And so whoever has the correct genetic structure kind of, especially if it's a dominant or codominant trait, overrides the genetic error, or at least blunts it. Now, with that said, if my understanding of the issue is correct, which I believe it is, in this setting, your genome is perfect. Well, yours isn't. You're a robot, but
In general.
But the human genome is perfect. Therefore, there is no specific genetic reason why a brother and sister could not marry. But I recognize it gets kind of creepy to us.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
And so, I simply don't deal with it in the setting. I just don't want to get into the aunt, mom, uncle, dad sort of, trying to figure out the family.
Daddy.
Yeah, trying to figure out the family
I
willow
feel like we
tree.
would still think it was icky.
Yeah.
It's second cousins would be okay,
if
but like
nothing else-
brothers and
if
sisters.
nothing
it's
else-
icky.
Do you know what appeals sexually most to the average person? The exotic. This is why most people find accents to be some form of a turn on, because of the fact that we are drawn to want to reproduce with people who are genetically the least like us. And this is why, well, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And so this is why I think there would still be a basic genetic, I don't know if at this point it's Jungian or what it is, but there's a sort of drive to still find the different, to be less attracted to the girl in the next room than say the girl next door.
I mean, here's
or
the thing:
the girl across
the
from a
idea,
different planet.
The idea is that people are reproducing so much. The idea that you would even come across someone related to you because of how many humans there are because of this, probably very fucking slim. And on top of that, even if you did, I'm sure because of how advanced science is, you can find out pretty fucking easily if you're related.
It's like a test you take before you.
Well, and certainly
Right.
Am I related
Fitbits
to?
tell you if you're
It's-
gonna
it's-
do the wrong
it's a
thing.
PhD.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No,
Yeah.
joke aside, did you know this? I believe it's Greenland, where this is a real thing, where there's such a low population on an island nation that it is
Man.
their dating sites actually do back test and through genealogy lines or something like that to see how closely you are related to the person.
Off of that, I don't know if anybody heard about that documentary coming out about that town that's like all related to each other because
No.
one doctor inseminated like
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
hundreds of women,
Yeah.
and like it turns out this entire town of people have been like fucking their brothers and sisters, and they had no idea because they're in different families.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that wild? That's fucking crazy.
I mean, at least half brothers and sisters.
So is that your
It's
Yeah.
just different women.
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
make it any better, but like a lot of them
You
are
brought
like
us here.
it had been happening for
No,
like
I asked about
years and years and years and years and years.
I had a genuine academic curiosity about how the far future would look at incest.
The
I
other
think it's
thing
called Our Father. If you want to watch it, it sounds like you're pretty
The
interested.
other thing I have to imagine is that if you look at the way that higher mammals tend to work, that once they reach, even lower mammals are like this, that once the population reaches a particular level, birth rates tend to decline. We're seeing this currently in humanity. We're actually about to hit we're currently in population growth, but we're coming up to a population decline. They've done this study many times over with rats and mice where they have found that once a population reaches a particular size, that interest in breeding and such within the members of the species tends to bifurcate. That a handful remain very interested in it, but the majority of them just drop out of the process.
Like incels.
Yeah, honestly, I'm serious. If you want a good understanding of where our
Or the
society
Japanese.
is today, look up the "We Are the Beautiful Ones" study. I'll get you the exact experiment name.
I mean, we're seeing that more for.
But it predicted, it was done like in the 60s, and it
Nobody
so
wants to have kids when they
perfectly
cost so
predicted
much.
where we're at today as a society. It is crazy. That basically it was the utopia is dystopia sort of experiment, and it made some shocking predictions that are unfortunately coming to pass. But side topic. So Dot, you're thinking that are we going with their daughter?
Fine.
Okay.
Do it. Fun family vacation.
Oh boy.
What motivated you guys to take your daughter to such a horrifying
Yeah, what the
place?
fuck, guys?
Well, it sounds like they don't really take it that serious from what they were saying.
I mean,
earlier.
maybe that's true. Maybe you guys are you haven't seen the horrors of what the RCZ is.
Or maybe we're not happy that.
Or maybe they
That's
don't
the
know that
assignment.
I'm there.
Yeah, you show up on the day we go to take.
I love that
Yes.
idea.
They
So-
don't know that
and then
I
you're just
joined.
pissed at you for a while.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
love that idea. We
Yeah.
had no idea until we get on the ship.
Okay.
And we
so
see our
Grounded for
dossier.
150 years.
they don't. So do you guys want to deal with that in game, or do you guys
Yes.
want to
Yes.
have
No,
it?
I want
That
it in
needs to be
game.
some RP.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys don't know that Dot is present. Do you guys even know she enlisted at all?
No.
I mean, we have so many
Unanimous,
kids
no.
Yeah.
apparently.
yeah.
That we just,
I'm the
like,
last.
You're the last.
Yeah.
My vagina was like, no.
We done.
I mean, your vagina's like, yeah, but you're like, no.
No.
Sorry, I'm just keeping it real in the game. That's
Yeah. As somebody who hated being pregnant. in the first
Nanites
place.
can't remove the memories of going
hate
through
it.
labor.
And my
I would
tubes
think
removed.
birth is probably very different if they're
I would
having
for
babies
cancer
at that
reasons, but
amount
still.
of like.
Mine were for
They just
personal
beam them out.
reasons.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't they just like remove them and then finish them off in some kind of like tube?
Finish them off.
I mean, That'd be cool.
Cook them for another few
Let
months.
you keep it
and
for 2 trimesters because the
That's like the good.
You know,
good time.
yeah, 'cause the
fetuses
second
are-
one is
not for
where you
me,
get
I
all
hate
that.
it.
FBI and put into
Yes,
bats.
it was just
Oh.
bad all around.
we think she's at university.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you think I'm still at school?
Yeah, we think she's at
Nice.
university. We don't know that she.
There was nepotism. You took his class.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
Yep.
shit.
That's what it is.
No, I love that. We think you're still. We think you're still in college.
She's
we have no
young, she's never
idea.
rebelled.
Yes.
Well,
That's what
I'll
you
say-
are. You're a truth bot. You just
yeah.
speak the truth.
That or
you guys
ma-
are shit parents.
I say that, or maybe
Do you need
you
anything
cut
from
them
me?
off for some reason. That you're mad at them, and so you cut them off for
I
some
think
reason.
it's more. I think I'm liking the rebellious thing. Y'all think that I'm still at school, but I'm like, actually, I've decided to enlist, and I'm on the same ship as you. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, we like show up on the dossier and see your name and shit our pants. It'd be great.
Well,
Oh no, fake name. She would be smart about it.
Oh, so
We're-
oh, so you changed your name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she'll enlist under
I
a
love
fake
that.
name.
So you two have the same surname, but she might.
Yeah, well, I'm bad at picking names.
I'm bad at names
Okay,
too. But
I'll
yeah.
get a generator.
And-
So that's what's.
Go.
I always
Google random name
Before you
generator.
enter the
There are
academy.
tons
Yes.
of them.
Oh, so you were in his class. It was such one of those gigantic university classes that he never even knew you.
You were just a number.
You were just a face in the distance, and he was
typical
like,
university.
I think if the nepotism thing is going to fall, then I would have to have kept the family name while I was in school before I enlisted. But after you guys get,
Maybe
after
get
you
married.
guys enlist and are like, okay, well, this is what we're going to go do.
What if you got married? You just took somebody else's name.
We wouldn't know.
Yeah, you
Maybe.
don't know. And then you
There-
left them behind. That's like a. hook
And then
that you
there's an
have.
NPC.
Well, and I think in class it was the opposite of nepotism in that I held her to a higher standard than everyone
Yes.
else in the class.
So it was like,
man, your dad's such a dick.
just kidding. Just kidding, Wayne.
You
Yeah, my
only
dad
got an
totally
A.
sucks.
I expected A plus from you.
I know.
When just so for what it's worth, one of my closest friends in the world is a college professor, and his wife's a professor. He has tenure. You can still lose your job if you fuck your students, even with tenure.
Yeah.
So just
And
be
his
careful.
wife is a professor too.
Not,
Yeah.
She's fucking students
not
too. That's what he was
initially
getting
my
at.
character was
No,
that.
no, neither of them are fucking students.
Oh,
No, that's what you said. That's what I
But,
heard.
but when he finally got tenure, my first question was, I was like, dude, you can fuck students? And he's like, it doesn't
work that
That's
way.
not how
I
that
can
goes.
still
No.
lose my job.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you can lose your job if it
The whole
impacted their grade.
I mean, the whole reason some people became professors is because they saw Donald Sutherland do it. You know,
Hey,
I mean, if he didn't do it,
Now, Eric, I love you, but we're old because you made a Donald Sutherland
Right.
reference and I got it.
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely younger
Sorry.
than you, and I got it.
Animal House.
No,
Yeah.
You didn't even drop
I
it.
know where you're
Oh, you got it then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you don't
Everybody
feel
has
that
seen
old.
that movie. You're not
Yeah.
special.
I'm bad at actor names.
Everybody's parents make them watch that movie. It's
Okay.
It's
Any-
way overhyped.
It is overhyped.
So
It is.
overhyped. It's an all right movie.
It was good for its time.
Yes.
That's probably
Because it was edgy for its time.
Yes.
Yes, it's very good for its time.
Okay. Do you guys feel pretty comfortable? You have a sense of what you're playing and how you relate to each other and things like that? How you guys all fit into the picture?
I need to understand again what the SAR acronym means.
SSAR. Single
S-
Section Assistant Robot.
Single section.
Yes.
Section.
Section, yeah. A section is a somewhat obscure military term that's similar to squad, but tends to be of a less specific size, as best I understand it.
Section. Ass robot.
Yes, that is.
Perfect.
Yeah, that sounds
Giving
right.
or receiving. Just kidding. Sorry.
Both.
Yeah, it's a robot chicken
From
humping
two-
robot.
I'm highly functional. I top and bottom. Yeah.
Perfect.
Two holes.
Okay.
That's the middle bun in the Big Mac.
All right. Let me.
Five two speeds, top, bottom.
All right. Let me walk
Thank you.
through real
Wish I had a blender like that.
what the attributes mean, and then I will walk you through because some of you have race. Oh, I'm sorry, Broner.
Okay.
And Broner, you're gonna have. I'm gonna. Well, actually, I may need to fill out your character sheet for you.
I love that. That is my favorite.
I'm gonna have to
thing
fill
that
out
just
for
happened.
you because you're not unique, every other SAR, at least in terms of capabilities, is exactly like you.
I love it.
Okay.
It's just
Sits
like
back.
it's just like real life. bring nothing special to the party. There are 8 billion like you.
No.
Okay.
That is
So
not
here's
true.
all right.
You shut your dirty
So-
mouth. You don't talk about my friend Mike.
Your attributes. All right. Let me give you a rundown what the attributes are, and then I'll tell you how we set
At
them.
least get a character sheet though, so I can follow.
Yeah. Just follow along.
Yeah, follow the class,
No.
please.
I guess. You have to look over Julia's shoulder. I have it pointing at him because I'm like a sideways writer and.
No, it's true. It's actually in a perfect position for me to cheat off your paper. I love
Okay.
it.
So, all right. Strength.
Refactored. onto
Similar to
the-
D&D, it's the physical power of the character, just your ability to move weight. Endurance, the ability of your character to resist damage or environmental stressors. All right, agility is gross motor movement. So that's things like pooping. No,
You said gross motor movement.
and not both gross.
Gross
bowel
mental movement.
So things like climbing, balancing, hand-to-hand fighting, these would be agility. Dexterity is your fine motor accuracy. So dexterity would be things like threading a needle, shooting a gun, or playing a video game with a
Surgery.
So
Surgery.
no, surgery is actually going to be under intelligence because so much of it's automated now.
Makes a lot of sense.
Speed is the ability. It's just literally how fast your character goes. So if we were to do this on a map, this could easily translate to the number of squares you can move. Awareness is the overall sensory perception of a character. It is also probably the best measure of your reaction time. So in addition to spot checks, awareness will also figure heavily into initiative. Intelligence is your memory, comprehension, deductive and inductive reasoning. Social is an aptitude for communication, empathy, art, religion, and other aspects of society and culture. All right, any questions on just what the attributes mean before I tell you how to fill them out?
Yet.
Okay, so there are two sets. You'll notice that you have a base and a modifier. The base is the uniqueness of your character. The modifier is going to be a fixed number that you will get based on your species. So I will give you the species level modifiers now, just so you guys know. So on the modifier column, Eric and Brandon, I'll start with you guys. Fill in the following.
These are for modifiers.
D12
Yes,
down
this
the
is
line.
modifier. Well, you're the Serenity actually are. You're going to get some traits that kind of set you back, but your attributes are overall pretty good. Strength is a D12.
Damn.
Endurance is a D12.
Keep it up. Keep going.
Intelligence is a D6.
So you're a little dinky.
Under movement types, the only movement you have is run. Fill in F. That means you run at your full speed. You cannot climb, swim, fly, or propel. I'll give you your traits in a moment. All right. The solars, aka humans.
Humans.
So solars, strength is a D4.
Fucking
Endurance is a D4. Agility is a D6. Intelligence is a D4.
Really?
Social is a
doinks.
social is a D6.
We're just average. Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, humans are not probably the most average species in the galaxy.
I mean, these are also
Below
just
average.
modifiers. These are
True.
like your base bonus.
Yes, it is. If you have a modifier, that means you are above the.
Average.
Yeah. Okay. For run, humans get an F for full. Humans climb and swim at H, or half speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can't fly.
Damn.
Not without assistance, no. Now, some of the things you do have technological assistance that can make you even better. But all right, traits, racial traits. Solars do not have any. All right, Serenity do have the following traits. Some of these are not going to be your kind because your attributes are pretty generous. Okay, now you write this however you want. Trait 1: Serenity may not use their racial strength bonus for any task involving the torso or arms. So your racial attribute, your racial bonus, now your base attribute's still there, but your racial bonus to strength completely disappears for anything that uses what we would call your upper body, though for you it's actually your
So we
lower
have little
body.
spindly arms.
That's correct.
So then what do you use your
Is that
strength with?
dicked up
Oh,
short
our big old honking feet.
Yeah, they have enormous legs, and they have the ability to carry weights on their legs, carry armor on their legs, to lash heavy, to try and do large
So your legs are
lifting.
your arms, basically.
Yes, and their legs are incredibly powerful.
Okay.
It is not uncommon for a single kick from a Serenity to kill a person.
Okay.
Golly.
Number 2. Critical hits against Serenity gain an extra d6 to their damage roll.
Oh. Why?
Because their torsos do not have rib cages, and they have an upper, I forget what it's called. Keith actually worked out the proper physiological name for this, but the sort of disc at the top of their body that's like a bowl for their major organs has a soft top. So if they
You can
get
get
hit,
past the legs. You got
yes,
them.
exactly.
Damn.
All right.
Oh man, I just have a.
Okay, put down for number 3, just put something like full defensive. I'll explain to you what this means, but the explanation is a bit long. All right. A Serenity can choose to go full defensive. When you do this, no actions can be performed outside of the legs, nor can the Serenity move at anything more than like a really, really tiny pace. But critical hits become completely impossible. They cannot occur. But
So it's like balling up.
yes, except in your case, it's basically just withdrawing your legs. You don't actually ball up. You just withdraw your legs
Yeah.
inward. But if you remember how I was talking in the stuff on Discord about how Serenity, their bodies are almost like shelters to them. So, like, if you're in the middle of a firefight and you're trying to, like, operate a data pad and not participate in the combat at the moment, you can choose to go full defensive, and basically your legs become like a little armored house.
So like the disc would, or the dish would go down, the legs would kind of fold up.
No. The legs just pull inward.
Yeah.
Okay.
The legs
Daddy
just
long leg.
pull
Around the-
inward.
around
just
the-
And in
stand
the
up
process,
taller.
yeah, it causes the muscles around that upper disc to tense.
Oh, okay.
So you basically just draw your legs inward, and so you're kind of like in this little house made out of your own body.
Okay.
And that's why Serenity tend to carry their smaller items on the inside of their legs, because, well, in that they can't reach the outside of their legs very easily anyway. Okay, number 4, put down double kick. You can double kick as a single attack. I will give you damage on that some other point. It is a devastating attack. The final one is a negative one. You have a +3 to be hit because of your size.
That sucks.
All right.
There's a lot to hit.
Yeah.
Is there anything special for senses for them?
No, I'm sorry. Serenity have the exact same senses as humans and at the exact same acuity. The only difference is the one that I mentioned in Discord, which is your color perception is a bit different. You have some trouble distinguishing the red, yellow, green range. You can tell the difference, but not as
You're
well.
me.
But within the blue range,
I didn't realize you were colorblind.
within the blue-purple range, blue in particular, you see a whole diversity of colors that humans do not.
So our spectrum on those are just like way.
Yes, you're shifted towards. I think that's what lower ranges on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So, but your senses outside of that one little bit. Otherwise, you have the same as humans do. So you have F in the, I think it's the top 5 attributes: visual, light, sound, touch, smell, and taste. Humans and Serenity both have F in those 5. There are other senses that some races have, but and not all races have the same ones that you guys have. But that's not relevant here.
So visual, sound, touch, smell.
Yeah, all at F. Meaning you get your full awareness when using them.
Got it.
Just like with your running, you get your full speed, but with climbing or swimming, you roll and then lose half. Okay. Your base attributes. So now this is the part where you are distinct from your friends and foes and other people and whatnot. Or do you guys actually want to skip down to skills first? Because the skills tie to attributes in much the way they did in Skies of Glass.
I like knowing skills first.
And so knowing your skills may derive your attributes.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so
And to
let me
make sure that we
explain. The
don't
skills
step on
have kind
each
of
other's
a quirk to them. And the quirk is, it's assumed that because neurology has improved, teaching methods have improved, and of course the lifespan of humans is now very long. And Serenity have a naturally long lifespan, not humanity's near immortality, but they do have a long lifespan. That you guys are capable of knowing quite a bit of stuff. All right, so when I give you this sheet, there's a relatively short list of available skills. Now, if you see something that you do not think is represented, let me know, we can create a new skill. All right, if you take it in its broadest sense, so for example, if Dot takes medicine and says, you know what, I just want medicine, period, I have a general knowledge of medicine, then her skill would be a D8, okay? Now, you can choose to specialize down once or twice, here's what I mean by that. So let's say within medicine, for example, she could say, well, I want to be familiar with specifically the races that hang around what's called trade space, which would not be useful for you guys, but nonetheless, I'm just giving an example. Then what would happen is that roll now spreads into 2 dice. If it is a trade space species, she gets a D10. If it's any other form of medicine, she gets a D6. The third option is to specialize completely, where you put a third descriptor or a third item at the end of this. So you might put something like medicine / I use transhumanism, I'm not sure what you'd call that for aliens, but we'll just call it like body reengineering. And if she then specialized again specifically to solars or humans, then if she's rolling on solars, she would get a D12. If she is rolling on anything that is biological modification, she'd get a D8. But if she was trying to like stitch up a wound on a Serenity, she'd only get a D4.
Okay.
So you can have either a D8, specialize once, which splits you to a D6, D10, or specialize 3 times, which gets you a D4, D8, D12 spread. Do you guys follow what I'm talking about? And in some cases, these are interchangeable. So, for example, you could take engineering / spaceships / reactors. Or you could take engineering / reactors / spaceships.
Okay.
So, do you understand the interchangeability?
Yeah. What was the spreading? It was D8 or...
D8 if you take it at just the first word.
Okay.
D6 / D10 if you narrow it once. D4 / D8 / D12, 4 being the general, the broad, D8 being the narrowing, D12 being the final specialization. And once again, the order in which the D8 and D12 occur can be flipped in most cases. Because you could argue that spaceship reactors is a subset of reactors, but you can also say that if I'm a general spaceship tech, maybe I specialize in their power plants. And so there's 2 ways of looking at that. So you can kind of finagle which one is the D8 and which one's the D12. All right? There's a few cases where that obviously just plain does not make sense, but wherever it makes sense. Now, Eric, you mentioned one that I had to add under intelligence because I didn't think about military strategy.
No.
So I added one for military knowledge, and examples I put were tactics as the middle one and like robots as the third one.
Okay.
You can also do something like military / history. So if you guys see something that just plain is not represented here, don't hesitate to talk to me and say, I would like to see this.
Okay.
I want to see how this goes, because this is somewhat of it's been a while since I've run this. I want to see if you guys can get where you're trying to get with these characters because of how broad the skills are off of 4 skills. Now, if we find that's not enough, then we'll just start embiggening the list. So, Eric, this one's still for you because I have to know the military.
So we pick 4 is what you're saying.
Yes, so pick 4 and specialize or don't. That's up to you. And remember, you may specialize up to twice, but the further you specialize, the farther from the broad skill you get. So the more you specialize, the less you're able to work on areas outside of your expertise.
Would my drones fall under robots, or would that fall under drones? If I do military...
I mean, robot is fine. Unless you're getting into artificial intelligences or true like singularity type things.
Okay.
Robots are robots are robots. I've had some people try to lecture me on the difference between robots and androids and the difference between androids and gynoids, which makes no sense, by the way, because android means human, not male. But I don't mind all that crap. So it's
How do you want us to fill this out? So I'm taking engineering. Do you want me to put like?
so engineering. If you want it just broad, stop at the DA.
Okay.
Do you want to specialize?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So then write your specialization next to it.
Got it. Okay.
And then now mark that you would have a D6 and a D10 unless you want to specialize all the way down, in which case you're now a D4, D8, D12.
And so 4 skills total, or do these?
Did the specializations count?
No. Specializations do not. 4
So you can
skills total.
specialize in all 4.
Yeah, if you want to.
I mean, I guess it would narrow.
I mean, it'd be,
Yeah.
I'd say it'd be kind of a rough thing to
I
do.
just meant it doesn't cost anything to do that.
Right, yeah, you
That's
can
where my
specialize
head
the
was.
same thing 4 times. It'd be kind of weird, but yes, you may do that.
Does anybody have any intention of getting into gunnery?
I was thinking about it, but I'm not sure.
Gunnery is automated? No.
Yeah, so and this might help if you get a sense of what attribute the skill is tied to, then I might give you a sense of how you want to spend your attribute points. So that's why I realize I just said that, but to some extent I'm vamping for the audience because they can't see the stuff you guys are looking at. I did make a typo on here, which bothers me, and you guys wouldn't even know it's there, which is under crafting. I said it's a Holoth Roharch. It's actually a Mokiri Roharch. I know that. I know all of you guys are really bothered by that.
I was.
You
Oh my
know.
god. Can't play.
Mostly I'm just vamping for the audience. I got the race name wrong there.
So, Dan, based on what I've described of my character, if you were me, what would you do for specialization in life sciences? I was leaning towards life sciences, xenobiology.
I would do life sciences, xenobiology, and stop there. Because especially if you're trying to dig into unknown alien species, you may want to... I'm not sure you want to specialize down again.
Right, and that was
because
my
you don't
thought
know what you're
process.
specializing to
I would
war.
also think
Because I don't want to do...
languages-
Honestly, I don't want to have a D4 in just general life sciences.
Languages
Okay.
would also be a good one for you too.
Yes, by the way, you do not. You only speak one language natively, which is your native tongue. If you guys want to speak other languages, the ones that are immediately in your area that would be accessible to the humans, or humans would be most likely to pick, is solar neighbors. That would mean you have some basic ability to speak. In addition to human, you would also speak Asta, Cyrene, and Tiesa. If you chose trade space, that would be of more interest to the Cyrene. You speak the languages of the races that run along trade space, which for anyone who needs galactic geography, this area that kind of runs through this empty area here is trade space. Humans mostly do their entry into trade space through the Asta. This purple area here is the Cyrene. That's where the original Cyrene home system is. Trelleworth is, if you guys remember, I talked about how part of the yellow Cyrene, or the Caesarean Cyrene, broke off from, they just seceded from the rest of the Cyrene. Their home start, or their capital system is Trelleworth. That's why that's there. This area is human space. Sol's for the Commonwealth of Earth, Vengeti's for the Vengeti Republic. Palin is for the UDP, which I think stands for something like United Defense Protectorate or something. I don't remember exactly what that stands for. I'd have to look it up. Chorester is for the Chorester League. Redoc is for the Outer Colonies Alliance.
And that's the area where we're
You
looking
guys
at.
are, somewhere in the neighborhood of Redoc.
Okay.
Riesha is the star system where the Rieshans were first encountered. The territory they take up are planets that are currently either have been given to the Rieshans as the front line falls back,
Are you gonna take
or
some-
currently being contested.
Gotcha.
But
I'm not
you
sure.
understand if you go
I
to
think
those
some of our
planets,
stuff
you are
can
in
overlap regardless.
profound
Okay,
risk
so I'm
of
thinking military
contact
tactics.
with
Yeah,
Rieshans.
because I was going to
Okay.
take tactics. Yeah.
So
So-
you can do ground tactics.
What do you get
Is
if
that a
you
thing? Is
do
that a thing?
language
Oh, yeah,
with no
absolutely.
specialization?
Yeah.
Then
So
you, in your
you can
attempt
do,
to
like,
speak any
military-
I was just
language
gonna say
that you
tactics.
reasonably could
Military
have
tactics.
encountered, or
'Cause that's-
prepared to
that's
try
whatever
to
the
study
D8
and
was.
learn,
Base- no, the base
you just
would be
get a
military.
straight D8 roll to on your chance to
you
see if
are
you can
military.
speak
We're getting
the
I'll just
more
say
skills.
and they're like SOG, there are target numbers.
Right.
So
I'm
the
gonna
more
go half, so I'm
complicated the
gonna
thing
go
you're trying to say, the
two
harder
count
it
military.
gets.
and
And then
two,
you said solar neighbors
do
cover
like,
what?
yeah.
Solar neighbors
And stuff
would
like
cover
that. That way I can
uh,
have
the
that.
Cyrenaic,
You know, kind of like
the TSN,
Because I was thinking it would be
And
kind
the
of up my
acid.
alley a little
Right.
bit.
engineering.
I was thinking I like the idea of knowing
Fix my
theory.
Yeah.
Because I'd be good at
and
like,
then gunnery.
guns
Because
Yeah.
of the backstories we've done.
Yeah, then I would go
My-
solar
my
neighbors.
gun drones,
Yeah.
You could also choose solar
But I was
allies,
thinking,
but that would
if you're
cost
more
you
of the
Cyrenaic
hands-on,
in return for gaining
I
you a
was going to see
Cyr.
if you're going
And
to
Cyrenaic is the specific one I
They
would
can.
want.
Yeah.
So it is Cyrenaic,
So one
Asta.
specialization.
otherwise I was gonna take
I'm sorry, I'm
survival.
trying to remember this. One
Now
specialization.
keep in
Yeah,
mind
I can-
though,
I can take some. That's
you
fine.
also have the option. You could also get Cyrenaic by doing trade space languages, because trade space languages would get you Cyrenaic, Asta, Mordeth, Freya, and possibly, yeah, I'd give you at least a 10 man's good luck speaking it, but you could at least understand it.
Or do you want to?
Yeah,
'Cause
I'm
it
going to go with
has
solar neighbors. So that was
bypassing
Cyrenaic,
security
Asta.
systems.
And TSN.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense if you're doing.
So
those
ha-
other
I'm sorry,
things
it's funny.
anyway.
So I took
Yeah, that's fine.
engineering robotics. So that would be the one that's just like
Actually, solar neighbors, or solar allies, I would give you the Freya as well, because I forgot that actually the humans, along with the Asta, are running the biggest smuggling operation on the Freya. And the Asta even gave them their own new home world in the Dokinda system.
Cyrenaic's the big one for me.
Yeah, I'm just commenting. You guys might encounter a Freya. Some of them do end up in the RDA because they're great little.
Are we going to be able to understand them if we don't take languages, or are we just going to meta that?
It depends on whether. Well, okay, yes and no. There are technological devices that can help you basically translate languages on the fly. But if those devices are unavailable or unfunctional, then yeah, you would not, unless they specifically can speak your
Well-
language or you specifically can speak theirs. But there are technological devices to assist you with this.
But also, just given the personal relationship between now the 5 of us, you would think that we would have picked a few things up every so often. Right?
It would be unusual for you guys not to speak some degree of Cyrenaic.
Right.
Dan, under combat,
It's
for-
sort of like the average American speaks at least a small amount of Spanish. You know, it's that sort of thing.
under combat, personal and or range, when it says /RDA. I understand what the RDA is, but I don't understand what that means in reference to those skills.
That would mean any weapons that they normally use. So if this is a typical part of the RDA arsenal, you are familiar with the weapon.
Right. Okay. So then, like for me, I don't know what skills we're lacking as a group. Is anybody going to take pilot or pilot in?
Your skills are going to be different.
Oh, okay.
You're going to have basically a D6 across the board in everything.
Okay, gotcha. And then I'm
That
going
if-
to read this to familiarize
Yeah,
myself.
familiarize yourself, but yeah, you have a different thing
Okay.
because
All right.
Explain
In that
this
case,
one more
I will
time.
Shinla
So I took
Shilta.
robotics engineering or engineering robotics.
slash
so that's,
robot.
Yeah.
So you now roll general engineering at a D6,
Got
but
it,
you roll
got it.
robotics at a D10.
Okay.
But if it's any other
Got it,
engineering
got it.
task, it falls back to a D6.
And then if I took 3 specialization, that's where it's a D.
it would spread to D4,
12.
D8, D12.
D4.
So engineering would
Got
be a
it.
D4, robotics would be a D8. I don't know what your final pick would be, but that final pick would be the D12.
Got it.
Is anyone else taking physical sciences?
No.
I
didn't take.
took quantum mechanics because that makes sense for me.
Yeah. I was debating for physical sciences of either just taking physical sciences and being generic across it, or specializing down into planetary sciences and geology.
That makes sense.
I
for
think
me.
that
Yeah.
makes sense for
Since
me.
my race is supposed to have their
Yeah,
own
I ended up
ranged
taking
weapons,
engineering, robotics,
Would I just
computing,
put my own?
machine intelligence,
Yeah, you would pick
programming,
ranged weapons
and then I
slash
took
Cyrenaic.
physical science, quantum mechanics.
Yeah,
You
I was
could
thinking.
specify
I was thinking for me,
again down
computers
to
add just the
uh,
generic.
Yeah.
its
Oh yeah. I think
particular
everybody.
type of
I mean, a
weapon
lot
they
of people
prefer.
stand for
That are
computers.
Yeah.
called flash
But I
guns.
specifically took it for the
but,
mechanical stuff.
which is the name
Programming.
humans gave them because there's a
I
really,
feel like-
really bright flash of light when they're fired, and so they simply, the humans have just nicknamed them flash guns.
And how did this break down again? It was D8.
So it's a D8 to start with. If you
Yeah.
specialize once,
I got you.
the general drops to D6. The specialization goes up to D10. If you specialize further, it's D4, D8, D12.
What is considered
Um,
planetary sciences?
Planetary sciences would be like geology, hydrology, meteorology, things like that.
Okay, I was curious what geology wouldn't cover.
One thing I noticed that isn't here, though, is either archaeology or anthropology, which I guess would really not be correct because anthro means human. But we'll
What if-
understand it as a catch-all.
Xenothrology.
Wouldn't that be under culture though?
I guess, yeah, maybe like culture / history, or maybe physical sciences / or life sciences / archaeology. So I'm not sure where I would put that because I realize that one's kind of missing. So I'll be flexible on that.
How about physical sciences, planetary sciences, anthropology, xenopology?
Xenoanthropology. I'll need someone to work out the I guess what that's Greek, I think.
Yeah, I'm just going to write anthropology because that's what I will know what it means.
But yeah, what is the apology for not anthro? Well, actually, anthropos, so you lose the P as well.
Perfect. I like that a lot better than geology.
Okay.
Dan, I've got a question for you. So if I take military, tactics, and then do the regions have tactics? Would it be possible to even study them?
No. The closest you can get to understanding them would be drilling down to them through life sciences.
Okay.
Their tactics is basically they just appear in large numbers and flood.
Just mob tactics,
Yeah.
basically. Okay.
You can always use his and then create your plans from it, whatever he tells you to.
Yeah, so it's more you would want to know your tactics of how to defend against them.
So that's
because
I was
they
gonna
don't they don't pull off unexpected maneuvers.
say, yeah.
It's just how do you contain them,
All right.
and that would be more knowing tactics on your side.
Okay.
So,
So
Dot
then-
hasn't learned to tell us how to shut the hell up. She's been trying to ask something for a while.
yeah, you just
Yeah. By the way, Doc, you don't force your way in.
Oh, no,
You'll
it's okay.
never
I'm
speak.
listening. I'm listening. I was just going to ask. There's opportunity for skills to be added throughout gameplay. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
there is a form of character advancement. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Because I'm thinking with her age and with her being, he's sniffing outside.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was
Um,
snoring or something over here because
no.
I can't see him.
No, because the way dogs sniff is they inhale rapidly several
Yeah.
times in a row and then exhale it all. That's how they sample the air. Is they'll inhale like 20, 30 times really fast and then exhale. But it's real short. It's like sniff, 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 exhale it all.
So I'm thinking that she probably like had an undeclared major, but is in the medical field because of who her parents are. So I just wanted to make sure that there would be opportunity to develop
Yes.
that into something more specialized
Oh,
going
well-
forward.
Obviously, we haven't dealt with it, but there is in the top of the character sheet, there is an entire blank for advancement points.
Perfect.
So yes, you can advance the character throughout gameplay.
Perfect.
So if we don't take something like ranged combat, are we basically worthless at, like, not able to fire a gun at all?
No, that's not correct. You just roll off the base. You just roll off the attribute.
Okay. Because I don't want to be, like, fully skilled or trained in it, but I don't want to be, like,
Because
I don't want to shoot myself in
Yeah.
the foot if I pick up a gun.
There is. I basically the way I make the distinction is there are untrained skills and then unavailable skills. So what I mean by that is like you pick up a standard gun or you try to say hello in Spanish and you don't have the skill. I consider that untrained because, or excuse me, untrained. So you just roll against the attribute because it is plausible this is journal information you've picked up throughout life. But now, if you try to do something like you have no training in heart surgery and you try to do a heart transplant, you will actually take a penalty. You will not roll the base attribute. You will take a penalty because you are doing something that's not just untrained. It's unintelligible. It's impenetrable. It's unavailable. You know, you just have no freaking idea what you're doing. Then it's not plausible you could have picked it up along the way. Similarly, pulling the trigger on a pistol, sure, could pick that up along the way. How to actually set up, lock on, and guide something like Seeking indirect fire mortars, you don't have the foggiest clue.
And what about, from that perspective, computing? So if you don't take computing, what is your level of basic computer usage then?
It's assumed you have basic computer literacy, particularly in your own species' computers or species you're likely to have encountered.
Okay.
You're not going to hack anything. You're not going to write any software. Indeed, first level to first tier tech support might be able to answer some of your questions. But it is assumed you are functionally computer literate.
Perfect.
I got a question.
Because that's, once again, that's a common general knowledge skill. So common general knowledge is, once again, that's done against the attribute but without a penalty. Yes.
The RDA, is it a military? You say it's a paramilitary organization. Is it a bureaucracy?
Sort of. Okay, so the way the RDA is set up is the vast majority of their people are military in nature.
Okay.
All right, but they do have civilian scientists or attaches. They do also, at their top, there was concern when they were actually writing the founding treaty that they did not want to have a fully military leadership.
Okay.
And so the actual top of the RDA is 7 secretaries. And amongst them, they elect a general secretary of the RDA. And so there is a truly civilian, unranked, not attache, these are outright civilians at the top of the structure.
Okay.
But the people, most of the organization is at least given some form of a rank and incorporated into the structure, even if their role is not combat in nature.
So my question is, could I take military, or you just let me know if there's a different broad skill for that? My thinking is military, bureaucracy, supply acquisition.
Yes, I absolutely would allow that. In fact, I don't remember if I wrote that on your sheet or not. I think I did write logistics on there, didn't
You
I?
wrote logistics.
Yeah.
So,
But yes, so yes, you could put down military if you wanted to even drill it down from there in a different way. You could do like military / RDA / acquisition.
okay.
Which implies your knowledge of the Cyreney. Now, if you choose to put RDA in the middle, that implies your actual knowledge of how to acquire things from the Cyreney is somewhat reduced.
Right, but if I put acquisition, asset acquisition, then underneath that,
You could also flip it. I would allow you to flip it. So you could put military / acquisition or military, I guess, yeah, bureaucracy as you put it. The Cyreney are not particularly bureaucratic, but I understand what you're getting at.
Right.
Military / procedure or whatever, / and then RDA at the end of that, which means with the Cyreney, you'd at least be rolling D8 for acquisition.
Can I see the map again?
Yes.
Where exactly are we?
When the game starts, you guys will be along the edge of the between the OCA and the Region Control Zone.
Okay, what would that area... So I'm looking at culture and trying to pick an area. An area that makes sense for my character. Because I have anthropology, but that's more learning and discovering.
Right.
This would be what he already knows about the history of...
I mean, wouldn't you care? Don't you already have theories on what we're going to study?
Right, and that's
So
why
I
I
would
was...
say that area would make the most sense for your character.
That's what,
But
what
if
would
they
we
don't
call
really
that
have
area?
like a culture that
Well,
there is to.
Well, the people who live there do,
okay.
Yes,
but not the robot.
it would just be
whatever they are.
It would be
fine.
culture / solar / colonial areas, or like something to that effect, or French worlds or something.
So maybe culture, colonial areas?
Yeah, or if you wanted to use the actual government there. Now, most of their territory, because of endless problems with the Rhaetians, is effectively never gotten past the colonial stage. But you could also just use the government name if you wanted to go that way and do culture / solar / OCA. If you wanted to understand their culture specifically.
I'm debating on how...
It would also allow you to do culture / solar / RCZ, which would include both the RDA and the OCA.
Because I'm debating on how far down...
There's no
I wanna
Rhaetian
get
culture
with
to
it.
learn, but
Right.
you could learn the culture of everyone else in the area. Or you could do culture / go back to before solar neighbors or something like that.
I'm thinking solar neighbor sounds good. Would that cover this area as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, or if you wanted to drill down specifically on that, you do
did
culture
you say for
/ solar
drones?
neighbors / solars.
What did I do for drones?
Yeah, what did you take for drones? Like, what is
So
considered
you could
drones?
specifically pick
Robots. So
human
military
culture
tactics robots.
within.
And then
Okay.
gunnery robots.
Okay, I think solar neighbors works because I want him to have studied the history of other.
Eric, unless you are actually remote targeting them, you don't need gunners for robots. They self-aim. They actually have their own attack skills.
Would that? I guess the question would be: would it behoove me to like be? I'm thinking of it like a drone rigger in Shadowrun. You could dog brain a bunch of different ones, but you could also focus on one and be.
Okay, so read me that skill chain again. I'll tell you how to do it better.
Okay. Well, I've got gunnery robot.
Okay.
Yes.
I would go
I was
one
thinking
further
of something
down
different.
Okay.
of gunnery / robot / MIST, which is an acronym: capital M, capital I, capital S, capital T.
Okay.
MIST is a human technology that they could adapt for Sirene use that basically uses your brain as a form of
Okay.
predictive middleware
Okay.
to
We're gonna
educate.
cover a lot of. We're gonna do this.
It's kind of
with
interesting.
Alexa.
While we were in DC, I was
I'm
actually
looking
talking
more
to a
at the
guy that does
physical
AI stuff about my theory on
Well,
this.
the-
And
our specialization
he was actually fairly intrigued. He was
drastically
like,
Different, right?
at least unless he was
Be able
just
to know
buttering my
the
bread, he was
base
like,
rolls at
he was actually thought like, maybe you had a
something.
workable
Yeah,
theory
I
here.
took range
But
combat at
The
Advanced
brain makes
just
a whole
because
set
I'm
of
gadgety.
decisions
Mhm.
So I
outside
probably,
of the reticular
does
activated system.
more than you.
Like if I
you know
threw
what
something at you, you would instinctively try to catch
Right.
it. You know,
Like if you were
whatever.
gonna take a combat skill, I would
But
assume
that
it
doesn't
would
mean
be,
the brain
like,
isn't
hand-to-hand.
processing it in some level.
You know what I mean? Just
So
because I
basically,
feel
this
like that's
technology
something that
uses
anthropologists
a
would know.
mix of
No,
actually
my
using your
mother-in-law was
brain
an
as a middle
anthropologist.
point of hardware below the reticular activated system. But at the same time, when you're outside
Well,
of
they
the
always have
RAS, you go
tools
through a
on you to
training
kick your shit
process
anyway.
where you train the device in higher
She bought
reasoning.
Eliza for
So
Christmas a whole
what happens is imagine if I threw,
Like a real
instead
one,
of
like
a ping pong ball
shit.
at you, imagine
She
if I
loves it.
threw 3.
Okay.
All right. You, if you were in the right gear, could actually catch all 3 out of the air if that's what you would normally do. Or if you're feeling somewhat belligerent at the moment, you could simply swat all 3 right back at me. And you would do it with a machine's speed and precision. And so basically, this is what you're doing with your robots. The robots are working off of your intentions and your desires. So you could actually, in a sense, slip in and out of what we'll call a manual control, but in truth is a relayed control that is probably somewhat akin to Ritter technology.
Okay. That sounds good.
You know.
Which is probably going to imply that at least the human robots you have, you may be what's called a dog walker. The dogs are a robot they specifically use against the Rhaetians that are kind of these big,
Turn
I haven't had
unwieldy,
a
four-legged
robot.
things with a
He's your
flat
robot.
back,
He's
and they
my
just
robot.
carry
Yeah.
an inordinate number of
They're like
smaller
ours.
guns.
No.
You're like a
And,
house robot.
uh,
You're like our Dobby.
They call them dog walkers because,
We'll give
like
you
when humans use them, in many cases, they actually have a chain they lead them by,
Okay.
just to bring them into position. But there
It's
are
like your
other
only possession
robots
right
that are
sock.
more
I fucking hate Dobby.
detailed. Like the ones
fucker,
defending the
isn't he?
ships,
Like as much as he helps you,
they want to do
he's
something
like
more than
jumping
just
around in his room and
annihilate
shit.
mass
I wanna touch that
areas
thing.
of life.
He's so
Right.
cute, but
Okay.
I'm like not.
So
getting
I'm
the hell
taking
off.
I'm taking robots too because I thought it made sense, but I'm not going to be as nearly as focused. So I was going to take like just regular drones that would be acting on their own.
That's fine. Yeah, in your case, I'll give you either some handful of human models, or maybe we'll give you 1 or 2 Siri models.
Yeah.
The Siri models might be your closest bodyguards, or something to that effect. Your closest assistants.
Because right now I have personal combat, range combat / Sirene,
Random name generator.
and I have the
like
Oh
military
yeah.
tactics
Name generator.
robots.
Let's go.
I don't have
What do you
an
think
idea
about Valerian
of
as
a
the last
Thor.
name?
a fourth one. I don't
I
know
like
what.
it. Well, you would change yours.
I took languages
Yeah.
solar so I could speak your
How
tongue.
do you spell that? V-A-L.
Is that right? Is that the right term for that? Tongue?
E-R-I.
Is that
That's the tongue?
You might
How
want
do you
to show
speak
that
a
to
tongue?
her
I
so
don't
she can write it
understand.
down, too. Do you want our real name?
You
Yeah.
have personal
Valerian,
combat,
there you
ranged combat. Survival's one's the group's lacking so far.
Yeah, I
are
thought
you
about
going
that.
with
Eric,
Rufus?
did you
Energy
take survival?
emission?
I ended up
Number
taking
one.
languages so that way we
I'll
could
take
see.
survival then.
Okay.
I'll take survival. That helps me.
Has anyone taken energy emission?
No.
One of you might want to.
What's it under?
It's its own thing.
For
Under intelligence.
Sensor equipment. I can
Sensor
do
equipment,
that.
communications.
You got a spot for it?
Yeah, I do. I can either take survival or energy emission.
How about I just take off my combat one and I'll do that then? I need to write better eraser. Because I'm already on the intelligence tree like crazy, so.
Which one are you taking? Energy emission or survival?
I'll take energy mission.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah, okay.
It just kind of fits in with some of the other stuff I picked.
Yeah,
I just
that's
was trying to leave.
I initially had taken, thinking about taking engineering and then robotics, but then I didn't want to cross anything. So
Yeah, like I
you
said, I
have to
don't
fix
mind.
you have to fix my robots because I'm just like these broke.
No, I don't mind if people take same
These are
skills. I just mean like literally
Which
take
makes sense. They're
all of my
not
things.
your robots.
Right, they're
You were
I keep-
taught how to control them, but yeah, they're not yours.
Should I just take that as? Am I cool just to take that as a general?
These
Which is
defective,
Since nobody else
defective
has any?
drones.
Yeah. Okay.
You just take engineering,
That way
trade,
I'm
and
kind
it's
of
a flat
average.
D8.
Yeah. Average
Should I just
possible.
take survival 5d8 or should I actually do like security systems too?
well, I mean, if we're gonna be hacking, well, think about it.
Is
We're gonna-
anybody? Well, nobody's
No.
taking it.
We're going to be going and
What?
finding ancient civilization technology.
Yeah, but not forever. Oh, I see what you mean.
terrible.
That'll
What
be
if,
useful.
what if, what if, yeah, what if,
What
what
if
if,
it had
Indiana
security?
Jones landed on this
Terrible,
planet
yeah,
and
just
then
maybe.
somebody has to disarm all these freaky
We don't
ass
talk about
traps.
Indiana Jones mixed with aliens. We don't do that. That never happened.
You just got to hide in the freezer.
No.
I know. I was like,
Stop it.
my.
You know what you're doing. Stop it.
I had somebody send like a. Oh no, maybe it was in our last like work presentation. Like our bosses thought they were clever and like had some Indiana joke, and I was like, Indiana Jones joke, and it was totally the Crystal Skull, and I was like, that's not Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Nice try. I quit. Thanks.
So Dan, if I took languages,
That's a good one.
and then should I do languages solar or should I do languages some other broader thing?
Well, it
than
sounds like
solar?
you should do, if you do languages, solar neighbors, because that kind of fits all of it, doesn't
That's
it?
what I
Yeah.
took. was
Solar
like
neighbors?
solar
Okay.
neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, because solar neighbors does include solar.
Yeah, and I don't want to be completely like fluent in solar. I just want to have a vague idea.
Well, and at a D10, I'll say it's solar. That puts you into D10. That's a pretty good.
So I can speak it and understand
Yeah.
higher
So you pick
concepts
a
and
name?
stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna be Emery.
Emery. Okay.
I actually,
Emery
wanna
last
choose
name
the same.
board.
we actually all have to have the same last name, so it's Valerian, which
So
is
she has
awesome.
two names.
I have two names.
You have two names, so
Fuck yeah.
have fun with that. But
That's
our
my favorite part.
Because choosing one name isn't difficult enough.
you gotta choose
It's the
two.
fun part.
Okay, is everyone done with their skills?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now that you know your skills are, all right, your attribute base. You will notice D4 is already kind of grayed out. You automatically have a base D4 in every attribute, so that's free. You have an additional 12 points to spend however you like. They go at a 1-to-1. So if you wanted to take your base strength of D12, it costs 4 of the 12 points.
How many do we have?
12 points.
12.
12 points, and the D4 does not cost anything. That's a freebie.
Oh. Okay, I see. I see.
Jumping from a D4 to a D6 is 1 point.
That's correct.
But jump-
Every die shift every
is one.
Is 1
is 1 point.
And you said agility was shooting, correct?
No, shooting would be dexterity.
Oh, dexterity. That's right.
Are you coloring over there? Oh.
Just making noise with the pen tip. Just rubbing my tip.
Mmm.
I love it here.
All right, so while everybody else is doing their stuff, I'll riff for the audience. Whatever you called it, space fill for the audience.
Vamping.
Vamping. I'll vamp for the audience. So I heard recently that if a cat shows you their butthole, that means they
They
feel
trust
safe
you.
with you. Yeah.
Or their bellies.
So we were talking about this recently. I just feel like whenever I leave a room now that I need to show people my butthole.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
That
then
makes sense.
What's your problem?
I'm surprised you haven't taken your pants off yet.
I don't even know why you're bringing this up. Just do it.
Have you ever noticed that the
Stop being
backside
a
of a cat
coward.
looks like a salmon steak?
No.
Wait, what? What?
No, I'm
I
serious.
got two cats. Never thought.
don't-
Man, I really had a hate for salmon.
I have this hankering for some salmon right now.
No, I'll show you a picture.
Oh boy.
I've seen a cat butthole once or twice. I don't think. And salmon. I don't think I need to see
Yeah, I
either
think
one.
the salmon is ready to see because I'm not associating.
This must be a
those two.
specific salmon that looks like.
yeah, I'm
cat
like
butthole.
thinking I'm envisioning a salmon-colored butthole,
Well, that's
which
not hard to
is
imagine.
is not unpleasant, but
kind of the color. It's
Okay,
shitty.
so it's oops, I just put it.
I like a pink. I like a good
Good old pink butthole.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's
This was
sideways,
depending on-
but you get the idea.
I mean,
There's the
I didn't
butthole. There's the
tell it.
legs. That's where the tail would
kind
be.
of lends itself to do so.
Yeah, all right.
But
Yeah, all right.
This photo that he's showing me, all right.
Yeah, I was thinking
I see it.
maybe
I get what
doing
you-
I can see it.
D10.
Yeah,
I feel like Dan has
On that
stayed up
less
at
of a-
night thinking about this. Like, oh my
It's
god,
less
that
a salmon
butthole, that's
fillet and
salmon.
like
No,
a
I used to own it. Well, I
slice
had
of
3
the entire
cats. Not all at the
fish.
same time, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. A cat's walking away from you. That's what it looks like. There's the
Okay,
legs.
now I
There's the
see what you
butthole.
mean.
There's the tail. Yeah, it looks like salmon.
I thought you meant the actual like.
No.
part.
Yeah, I was thinking like the fish, the full fish while
No,
it's
no,
alive.
I was thinking salmon.
No,
steak,
I was
like you
thinking
said.
that. Like,
But
Oh,
I didn't
so
know
you're
you
thinking
meant
like
the
this?
legs too. I didn't know you meant the
Oh.
legs too. So I was like, my
No, I
cat's
mean, like,
butthole does not look like
the-
salmon.
no,
but I
I
get
mean,
what
like,
you're
the
saying
whole
now.
departing-
Yeah.
this is
The
quality
whole thing
content.
departing
Yeah.
looks like that.
Good job. Good job, dude.
You got
Well, you know,
started, man. You
I
got
was
started.
trying to do that, but
Well done,
not distract everyone
Yeah,
from
that's
actually.
fair.
So cats,
Yeah,
like
no, you
dogs,
fully distracted it.
You can read a lot of their mood off their tail. For example, a cat is doing a positive greeting if the tail's straight up with the tip, like just tipped up, like just the tip turned over.
Uh-huh.
It's like if the tail, it's like if their tail's like this,
Careful.
then that's where it looks kind of like an upside down L or an upside down J. That's a positive sign. That's like a
so just the tip is positive.
yes.
Gotcha.
It's like somewhat akin to a dog's tail wagging, I guess. But dogs wag their tails differently. Left to right is happiness. If they are nervous but trying to show they're non-threatening, they only wag the tail to the left. They don't wag it to both right and left. It only
Interesting.
wags to the left.
So for the numbers, looking at base, my immediate thought is for the things that I want to do well, jump up to a D12. Is there anything where there's like a chart of D12 means you're a super genius, and
Hold on.
D4 means you're average?
Yeah.
I can at least
Random.
give you a. I don't know if I can give you that, but I can give you. Hang on. Trying to find
We're
it.
gonna do that and then this.
Yes, I'm debating on taking a D10 and then putting
And
diversifying a little bit.
I need to double
Yeah.
check this map.
That was
This-
exactly what I'm thinking. Is it? Do I just go to D10s on the thing I do really well, and then diversify?
And then, like, can we up these at all throughout?
Mhm.
Okay, so then maybe, like, as we get more, I don't know. It depends on what you tell me here. Because I was kind of the same boat. I took away 4 points.
There you go, Wayne.
12.
What you're probably looking for is that chart.
so Dan, when it comes to
That's the outcome of the roll. And you roll by you get your attribute,
Okay.
your racial modifier if there is one, and then the skill die. I will also going to tell you guys something about something called in this game called pushing your luck. I will.
Are you going to go D10 or 12?
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
and you add them all together after.
Yes, they're all added together.
Do you guys need to
No, I'm just testing. I'm just looking at what I'm
I'm
getting.
really torn.
So I'm like,
I know, me too.
I have two that I
I'm
want to
gonna
go
roll
high in, so I was
my
thinking
intelligence,
D-
which is
D10 in
D6,
both, and then diversify.
And then I'm going to do my
Instead of
business.
going all the way to
That's- I think I'm
12.
going to do the same. I don't think I'm going
My
to take any
total
12
here.
You said everything in
Especially if we
D6.
can raise it later.
So
No, no, I'm talking about right now. I have
D10 and
everything,
your average
everything except
rolls
for my
is
social,
11.
which is going to stay at a D4
Right, I got you.
because you know.
I got you.
What's the tone?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah.
intelligence
I'm not
and
gonna touch
social
my
are where all my skills are. So I was leaning towards a D10 in each of those, and then diversifying the rest.
Yeah.
Instead of going all the way up to a D12.
I can
And either.
wiggle room a little bit more than you.
What was awareness? What does it actually cover again?
The acuity of your senses and how well you pay attention to them. So your likelihood of both being able to notice something and also going on to actually notice it.
6 left.
Wait, Broder, you're not doing anything. Give me the candy bag.
Baby, I'll get you whatever you need.
Baby.
Okay, and
Yeah.
endurance would.
Where's candy bag? This candy
Nope,
bag?
nope.
Nope, nope, right there.
Gray
No,
bag.
gray
On, there you go.
Oh, big gray bag.
That's what I call my
Thank you.
jock strap.
So
Candy
The
bag.
candy.
And then
endurance would
how does it
modify
play
health,
into
right?
Yes,
Or is
endurance. So what you do to calculate your health is take the maximum of your base attribute die and your modifier die. So let's say one's a D6, one's a D8. Your total available health is 12.
Are we rounding down? Is that what's
Wait a
happening?
minute.
Huh? No,
Wait,
you're not
what
lying.
now?
It's
Okay,
D6
so,
and D8.
So yeah, I'm sorry, 14.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, I was like, I'm mathing wrong.
I'm
Am I
sorry,
mathing
for
wrong?
Math is way off.
I'm sorry, D6 and a D8 is 14. Yeah, I can math you 5.
Okay.
Or math you late.
So health physical is based off of endurance,
Yes.
Yep.
and health
And you just
mental
add the
is-
number. Okay.
Yeah.
So 10.
Yeah, and then mental is.
So health
Just
is gonna
math
be
you late better than my
So like
language,
yours
you eight.
is D6.
What
and
is
D4,
mental
you get
then?
10 HP.
Mental's the same. It's just different damage track.
Which
No, that's right. Is
which
mental
attribute?
off of intelligence, off of social, off
No,
of.
it's also off nerds.
Oh, also off of there.
Oh, okay.
I called it
Okay.
mental, but it actually represents nervous shock. It's used for things like stun weapons or certain electrical charges and such. I called it mental because I couldn't come up with a. Because nervous, made it sound like it was a sanity check. And I don't know, I couldn't come up with a good short name for it, so I just called
So
it
it's the
mental.
same as endurance.
Yes, same value as endurance, separate
And you
damage
just add
track.
those die together. Got it.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think mental works. Mental health.
Yeah.
Do you
It's-
fill in the gray boxes when you get hurt, or
Yeah, I put a slash through 'em or whatever.
okay,
Yeah.
because I'm filling them in, and I realize.
Yeah, so fill in
mechanic-
the ones to the right that are outside that you don't have, because there's a total of
Oh, I see. What
24.
You're saying.
It's 4 blocks of 6, total 24.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
you could have a D12 and a D12.
And does speed modify initiative?
Yes. Awareness, agility. Awareness, agility and awareness, or speed and awareness? One of the two.
Whee.
Here are Reese's Pieces in here.
There should be more than that. If there's not, let me know. I got a bag of them.
Oh, no, there it is.
This is what happens when you want to diversify your candy as the Easter Bunny. Right there. You end up with a bunch of random shit.
Now, why would you though? Why would you screw up otherwise perfectly good? Oh, these are just classic jelly beans. I thought it was sweethearts for some reason.
No, I love classic
Sweethearts.
jelly beans. Mike does not. He likes the Starburst. Or Starburst? Is that what's in there?
Yeah.
And I think that's like blasphemy.
No, I can justify that.
That's why it's
Unless
not-
you like black jelly beans, then you're not a
I
person.
hate black jelly beans. That's why if you reach in there, there's probably a ton of black jelly beans because I've been eating on that bag for like a week.
Yeah, so anyone likes the flavor of anise, or however it's pronounced anise,
Anise.
Anise.
is not a
Not
person.
good.
Fucking anise.
Whoever likes anus. It's like. I'm sorry.
You know that
That's what
I'm a fan of
Okay.
I'm a fan of like
So
black
I went-
licorice
I
on
didn't want to roll a
occasion.
D4.
Dorothy, get the fuck out of here.
Hey.
No one actually likes black
Working
licorice. It's just
like-
assholes pretending they do.
So I
It's
diversified
like
a little
those idiots that
Yeah.
eat super hot peppers
I
and
was
are
gonna
like,
end
oh,
up
they're
having
so
to put
good. I
a
love them for the
D6 in there. I'm
flavor.
like, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
But I can't taste
And I went
anything,
really
and my
after
nose
it.
is ready to
Yeah.
leave.
Not,
No, you're just an
he's not very
asshole.
Physical,
Shut
not
up, Dorothy.
But he's. I don't want a D4. or
Feel
anything.
Yeah.
some really, really strong love coming from you, B.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna reach into
Yeah,
that because of where it
so-
is.
No. don't pretend like that's okay just because you have a brother in arms here.
No.
It's still fucking gross.
What?
Maybe
They
you're
like
the
black
one that's
licorice.
missing out, babe.
Black licorice.
Somebody needs to be on my team here because I'm getting
The black
double teamed
licorice
by two
is good?
disgusting
I'm
people.
telling you, they're non.
You guys think they're good?
No, I like I said, it's
It's
not
not
something
my
you don't want.
go-to.
I'm gonna come up with a subspecies of humans for this game. It's humans who like black licorice, and it's just gonna be like negative to everything.
The real,
Intelligence negative.
The
They
real
just
question-
automatically fail. Period.
pineapple on pizza?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sweet and savory.
Yeah.
I love
But
it.
even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would not eat it. I got
They're-
that
they're
on
also-
authority.
Is that your baseline? If the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles don't do it?
okay, so
Because they ate
They're-
toothpaste
sort
and
of,
like
sort
all
of.
kinds of shit on their
Sort
pizza.
of. So I
Thank you.
was sitting there and I was in a restaurant debating this with someone,
Me.
and I was like,
I was there when you texted
right.
him.
And I was like,
That was me.
who, like, if you like want to know, does this count as that? There's an expert you can go to for most things. So I'm like,
Look, you guys want to take all these black jelly beans? Look at them all.
like,
Yeah, hand them over.
who is the final arbiter of what is and is not pizza? Like, right? Who
You
is the
dig your hand in
gatekeeper
there,
on
so I didn't have to
pizza?
dig my hand in there.
Well, in Italy, they have the president of pizza.
So
That's a real
the
thing.
only person I come up with is just like the Burger King. I assume knows a lot about burgers.
I'll bring you some.
I mean, it's a king of them after all. Was
All right.
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
You can have
So-
other
Oh, good
ones
God, I'm not
too.
going to eat
They
that
were
one.
co-created by Peter
You
Laird,
can
Kevin
eat other
Eastman.
colors too, I promise.
I'm
The
friends
purple
with
are
a
the
guy
best.
who was Kevin Eastman's
Single job.
best man at his wedding.
I did make my.
So I texted this guy and I'm like, hey,
they're not like
could you
real
text
sugar,
Kevin
but you could
Eastman
probably have, like,
something
half
for
of
me?
it,
I have
okay.
a question. He's like, sure,
Because the,
what? I said, could you ask him would the
The
Teenage
icing
Mutant Ninja
is
Turtles
only has, like, a
eat
cup of sugar
pineapple on their
versus,
pizza?
like, 4.
And I can look what his exact response was.
No,
but
it has white
It
chocolate,
was
but it's
a
baker's chocolate,
longer
so it's
version of
like-
absolutely not.
Anyway.
Like,
They'll put
I tried to think
toothpaste
of
they
in
two,
it,
will
but
but
put garbage on pizza, but this is below garbage.
that's they'll draw the line.
Yeah, my favorite pineapple combination though is if you do a barbecue pizza with chicken, peppers, and pineapple.
Pineapple and bacon.
That is good too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wait.
We can order pizzas and we three will have the best pizza.
That's right.
No, I like pineapple.
It's
Just not on
put that in
pizza.
the-
Your trash in the center.
Yeah.
Love it.
Just keep it in the middle there.
I mean, like, I don't know,
This is
pineapple
horrible.
on a pizza seems like it belongs
I
to your
didn't have
house
a
as much
cake.
as like afterburn.
I mean, it looks like he may have lied to you because there's literal comics where they've eaten pineapple on pizza.
I know, but that was after they sold the
blasphemy.
rights off.
Well, then he doesn't have a say. He sold that right.
The
So that right
original,
to make that determination.
the original creator said, "F no." Let's see if I can find the actual.
I mean, it's okay to be
I'm not a big
wrong.
advocate for pineapple on pizza. I think it's fine. I don't give a shit.
I mean, I
But you have
should.
very strong opinions about black licorice, babe.
I'll put black.
Yeah, because it's fucking gross.
I'll put black licorice on my pizza, motherfucker.
The only thing.
Ew. Okay, that's crossing the line.
Oh
I
crap!
for my pizza.
I don't have it. That was a tough conversation on my old phone. I don't have it, but he gave a very terse no.
Yeah, no, I can verify. I was there when you got the message. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were the ones debating it
No, it's fine.
because I'm a
Especially
pineapple
because
pizza
ham
person.
and pineapple is like.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Bacon.
Tom Cruise supposedly ate a placenta.
Oh,
Oh, there's all kinds of people that eat placenta.
Yeah, see,
that's so gross.
exactly. Now you're starting to understand.
With little
they
garlic and
suggest-
onions, what's the problem?
They suggest that shit like medullas.
What's a bull in a
eat
china
liver.
shop?
Medullas do that all the time.
What
They
are you
suggest
gonna
you eat
do?
placenta.
But not like human.
I think a cow uterus. Or,
Ew, what? Ew, what?
Why not? We'll put pineapple on
People
pizza.
eat
But
no.
hold on. I'll eat a fucking
Hold on.
cow uterus.
Are you
Let's
grossed
do this.
out by the cow uterus? You do know people eat human placenta,
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
Like,
I've eaten
Like
chicken
someone
heart.
made the comment of like,
I
okay, what
didn't
about
like
eating
it.
a liver? Yeah, if it's not, it's an animal liver. That's something
Zucchini.
different.
No.
Well, I'm not going to eat a human liver.
That's
no.
what I'm saying.
Well, first
it's
of
not
all,
a human
you
liver.
can't. That's actually illegal.
Cannibals. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
They
are
don't-
illegal.
They don't, the legality really doesn't play into
I like how the problem is that
Only in the
but they're
US
eating-
and every
but,
other civilized
cannibals can
country.
do it, as though that's okay.
it. Sure, cannibals.
Cannibals.
I mean,
Dorothy, advocate for cannibals.
so glad that is.
Yeah, it's 100%.
My mark.
You
Great.
are. That's your stand.
Hey, it's only illegal in the U.S. and every other civilized country.
Right.
Not every country.
It's civilized.
Right.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you for investing.
And I just think he's not
All
being
this
fair
candy.
to those cultures that partake in it.
Oh boy.
Okay.
We've gone down a dark path.
I'm pro cannibalism in the sense that
It's autoerotic.
when
Hey, that's making some sense.
when the apocalypse comes, I have a
Buddy.
plans of my neighborhood. I have all my neighbors divided into 3 categories, which are harbor, ignore, consume.
Yeah.
See, because I have food
That's
stores.
like that's the zombie apocalypse version of.
What about reproduce?
Yeah.
What is it? Kill, Mary,
You gotta
fuck.
have
Yeah.
You also have to have a reproduce category.
Yeah.
Not on my fucking street.
I did
Be a
not
fucking
make
street.
children
No fucking-
in the best case scenario for my
Turkey
life.
baster.
I certainly am not going to make them in the end of the world. But yeah, I mean, I've got food stores, but that's for an emergency. My neighbors, their meat's not going to last
Disposable.
forever.
Cannibals actually creep.
So I want to know if we were
What's
your
that?
neighbors.
Cannibals actually creep me out.
So I want to know if like all of us were your
Well,
neighbors,
that's good.
where would each of us fall?
Have you
What's
ever
that?
have you ever seen the interview
We were
with
all
that
your
Japanese
neighbors.
guy who
Right.
Oh.
Where would each of us fall?
Well,
that he
you're all
killed for, like,
friends, so I would put you in the
Well, so
category of harbor.
They let him go.
Let's say
Because
you
I-
are friends. You just
I'm
you
fucking-
knew us. We're cool. We're not close friends, right?
It would be ignore.
It'd be ignore. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you
My
watch-
neighbors that really
Really, I don't.
It
want
is
to
fucked up
consume.
Even
jelly
given all
bean.
the crap that I've stockpiled, I don't make harbor.
It's like a.
You got growth.
Again, but that's
Looks like a
because
heart.
I know you. But like, if I knew you like I knew my other neighbors,
Yeah.
who I don't know their names and I don't want to know them.
He doesn't
for
know which
precisely
ones
this
have-
scenario.
He doesn't know
Yeah.
which ones have arsenals in their
Yeah.
house.
So it sounds like you've
Doesn't
got a
matter.
good. You got a
If you
good
kill them,
system.
you can just take them.
You just did a poor
yours.
job of populating that system.
Yeah, no, that's a fair criticism.
I mean, it's like imagine if you gave someone like the full Linnaean taxonomy structure, and they just put like birds under fish, and it's just like, I mean, I'm not saying it's like you had a good system. It's just it was misused.
Yeah, I would not put any of my neighbors into consume. Now, however, my
Ignore.
dogs need to eat. And those dog food humans can eat.
Yeah.
So given the choice, I just feed the neighbors to the dogs and I'll eat their food. Because let's face it, a lot of pet foods that
I just
and
don't
treats
have to
and
think that
things
way,
are
'cause
actually human.
Because
Yeah.
both my
It appeals to the people.
both my
not to the
place and my
dogs.
parents' place have
Must be
large
sucks.
numbers of deer that regularly wander
be
by.
sucks.
Same.
Yeah.
So all I got to do is bag and tag one
Come
or
on,
two
Pokey.
deer, and that's going to last me for a while.
Yeah, my stupid dog rolls
My
in
parents,
deer runs.
my
Sounds
parents
like
have the
shit.
deer will walk
Makes
into
sense.
their driveway.
Yeah.
Mine too. Actually, I get to see my beautiful daylilies for a day, and then the next morning I wake up and they're all fucking gone.
Because they eat them.
Absolutely, right next to my house, like right at our door. Just bop, 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 gone.
You ever just run out there with like a bat and you
No.
scream at them?
So it is weird. My parents live in the middle of nowhere, and yet I see deer here more often than there.
Yeah, well, you've got the woods and the river right here. This makes a little.
We saw
Yeah.
a shit ton of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're pulling on the street.
Yeah, but now by my house, they all. I mean, I'm covered by woods, but they are. I remember when Mike came in and got us and showed us. Like my husband was like out smoking a cigar, and him and I were probably getting drunk on wine, I'm sure. And he had heard a noise, and he flashed his flashlight over, and there was like 15 eyes, all just laying.
Just
in our
15,
neighbors.
yeah, not 15 sets of eyes.
Just
Yeah.
one of them had a
15
patch.
sets of eyes, and they were all just laying down, like they were just laying down in the
Sets of
field.
3
Yeah,
deer,
it's pretty normal.
but 15 sets
I
of
grew up
eyes.
It's the not deer.
Me too. I grew up.
The deer of the
I grew up
woods.
in now.
My
Or is the black deer of the
girl-
woods?
The black goat. of the
Yeah,
woods,
I knew it was
Chicago,
goat.
when
Yeah.
She came to visit. She'd never
But,
seen
yeah.
a deer before, like in the wild, and she thought it was going to attack her. And I'm like,
Oh
you have
my
no
God.
idea how scared these deer
How
are.
do, going back to the game talk, what kind of names does Sirenny have?
Ooh, okay. So I think
Clicks.
yes, it's just all Swahili clicks. All right, so there's a couple things that I think we'll deal with in
I can't read
back on Discord. So I will deal with armor, weapons, and equipment on Discord.
Okay.
And I will also, for the humans, I need to hand out ranks. For the Sirenny, I will talk to you about how their names, kind of what they're like. Here's the common phonemes, combine them to get a name you like. Or I don't know if you adopted a human name just for simplicity's sake. If not, humans can make the same phonemes that Sirenny can. more or less. So it's going to be pretty.
My name
close.
is Juniper.
How
Juniper.
Archibald.
how
Archibald
distinctly different
They
are
just call me
your,
Archie.
are your respective
Son.
appearances?
Say again.
How,
As I'm
how,
hanging.
how
Son.
distinctly different in appearance and size are you?
Like
The
from
two of
one
us?
another?
Yeah, one of you
Probably
like more
virtually
purple.
identical.
Yeah, it seems like that race is
Roommates.
pretty.
We're gonna make you wear name tags.
We're,
Yeah, like,
we're
so-
interchangeable.
The only
well,
discerning
that's
thing.
like-
It's
or-
gonna be. It's
okay.
gonna be the fucked up.
I'm
twin
Juniper.
situation.
That one's Archie.
Do you wear the wrap thing?
Yeah,
around?
that's,
Yes.
that's our culture.
Are they,
Oh, and-
are they the? Can we tell you apart based on those?
Yes, they would have.
Unless we had the same
One
exact
symbol-
same like
One's at least one symbol would be in common for both of them, which would be the circumstances and place of their birth. So they would have one zodiac constellation or constellation, whatever you want to call it, in common. So
We're Sagittarius.
their lowest, their bottom constellation would be the same.
We're
The
Cancers.
middles and uppers could be different because the middle one is.
or Gemini.
Its
Gemini.
role and place in society,
That's
and then the top one is a sense of aspiration, prediction, or destiny for the future. So their bottom ones are definitely the same. The middle ones might be the same. The top ones could be, but if they have personality differences, then they would almost certainly be different. Especially given the fact that he's more hands-on and he's more hands-off.
Yeah.
I have to imagine they would probably have different top
Yeah, I just wondered
constellations.
if there was an identifying mark that is easy.
I do need to know: are you
distinguish.
guys Caesarin or Zenth Cyrene?
I forget which one those were.
The Caesarin are the ones that are much more multicultural and
That's
open-minded.
like the generic one, right? That's the
no,
one.
the generic one is the Zenth, who are
Those are the ones that are gathering information for.
they're so the on across the political spectrum, the Caesarin are the most open-minded and interested in stable interchange of ideas between themselves.
That sounds like us.
They basically
Yeah, well, but
'cause, they believe that requires outside perspective, and therefore either themselves seek outside perspective or do not think ill of those that do.
Right.
The Zenth, which represent the mainstream, they take a view that outside information is not necessarily, or outside perspectives are not necessarily abhorrent because they ultimately represent a part of that ultimate truth. If humans believe X, then that is a part of the total truth of the universe they're trying to collect. But that doesn't mean they think it's necessary to reaching that ultimate truth or to participate in it is necessary. The far extreme is post-war, a subsect of the Zenth popped up that wants to kind of push back the liberalization of their society, and is really angry at the Caesarin for dropping out and standing in the way of the war.
I think for
You're definitely not purists.
No,
You're either going to be
no.
Caesarin or relatively chill Zenth.
right, I'm thinking left leaning Zenth. Mostly because because if we were the human facing all that stuff, that's just too convenient, you know.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And then maybe there is some friction back home of us choosing to go this route. Not necessarily that they excommunicated us or anything like that, but it's just kind of like, why are you bothering?
What? And I like the idea of the need for diplomacy, and that Zenth seemed like that they would be the ones that would be diplomats with humans and not the Caesarin necessarily.
And all the way around Caesarin are
Yeah, they would be the Caesarin would be the ones that would.
But what I'm thinking is, if we are trying to establish a new diplomacy in the post-war time of peace, maybe this is a new thing.
Right. And the Zenth are sent in because one half doesn't like the other half, so the one in the middle would be the one to kind of.
There is also
broker
something
deals.
of a political complexity introduced by one of the Cyrene neighbors, which is the first species the Aska made contact with. They were looking for humans because they knew that they were hybrid of the race they wiped out, humans. They were looking for humans, but who they actually found first was the Cyrenai. And the Asta and Cyrenai have enjoyed very positive relationships as long as they have been alive.
Yeah, no, right.
And what happened was when the war occurred, the Asta said, it ain't personal, but you realize we got to stand with them. And the Zenth base was like, okay, as long as you don't open up a front from your territory, we won't take this personally. And so the Asta actually joined humanity in fighting the Cyrenai, but because of the very peculiar detachment of the Cyrenai didn't take it personally. They're like, we did it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you got to protect. It's your mother species, and that's what you. It makes sense you would do that. Now, the humanity's other primary ally, the Tiesin, the Cyrenai have had kind of a real mixed bag relation with them because the Tiesin are rather agitating, and they have had on and off border friction with the Cyrenai for some time. That's never really gone much of anywhere, but.
They're just a bunch of rabble rousers.
Yeah, and I explained to yes and politics to them, or to you, but because they're actually in the middle of an almost civil war, the Tiesin are, which is complicating things for humanity, because humanity's like, first of all, we really don't want to take sides, and secondly, we kind of need you guys available right now in case the Cyrenai go on the move again. But the Tiesin have taken to fighting within themselves because the ruling house at one point basically there was an internal rebellion and they dealt with it by basically pulling back the military and letting the Cyrenai attack several systems. And once that scandal got out, it triggered a civil war within the Tiesin that is still currently being fought. And both sides desperately want humanity to take a side, and humanity is refusing to, thus far.
So, what would the structure on the ship be like for, like, we're there for scientific research. Are there departments that we would have, or?
Yes, and one thing that is going to, okay, let me tell you a little bit about RDA rank structures. Because of how long people live, there is no such thing, or with very, very rare exception, I should say, people don't come out of officer candidate school. No one enters at an officer rank, with very rare exception. In most cases, everybody comes in as a buck private and works up from there. They also keep a parallel rank structure, meaning that everyone within the organization, regardless of who they are, has some form of a rank, and that rank structure only ceases to matter if there's a distinction in a sphere of influence. What I mean is if you have a captain of a ship and you have a captain of ground forces and they're on the same ship and a space battle comes up, let's go even rank higher. You have a major in the ground forces. The major does not get to overrule the captain of the ship because it's the wrong sphere. So in the same way, you guys are part of a different rank structure, but it is parallel. So it's a little bit confusing, but the point being, though, especially in this case, because what you are doing is primarily a scientific endeavor, even if you are wildly outranked by the other some of the other officers around you, unless it is a matter that is very distinctly within their sphere of decision making, they are going to have to actually follow what you guys want.
My question was more along the lines of, if there's a department of anthropologists, I want to provide you a list of NPCs with some backgrounds and things.
Oh, yeah. That is the thing.
I wanted to make sure that wasn't, oh, no, there's only one or two.
No. Especially in that area, they know something. They know that something weird is going on with the Rishans. They know they're also sitting atop a treasure trove of very bizarre information. And also, this was something that they had established well back in their research into the Asta's father race,
Do you envision us being heads of our department, or under, or?
I mean, you'll be the highest ranking ones that are present for this. Do you
Okay.
want to be the head of your department overall? I mean,
think-
like, you can walk into any research facility and you're the top guy. I mean, I don't really care.
President for this is good for me.
Okay.
That's why I didn't want to give you, here's a assistant, here's a this, here's a that, and then come back. Oh, well, no, I'm reporting to someone, because if I'm reporting to someone, I have that person in mind.
No, in fact, I'd rather not have you guys too directly.
Okay.
Because once again, I want you in a structure so I have ways of motivating and parameterizing you guys a bit. But I don't like the idea that you report to anyone, especially anyone that's on the scene, because I am afraid it would take away too much player agency.
Yeah, the reason I'm thinking it's been a while since I've had a campaign where I, wrote up a bunch of NPCs and handed them over to the GM. Like, if, for example, one of Chad's Blaze in the Dark game, my character ran a business, so I gave him, here are all the people that work with it.
And in fact, if you want, you can even specialize them. You can have a science team that specializes in different areas of science.
Yeah, I know specifically I have a NPC in mind that I want to give you of a Child of Asta. So we have one in the game.
Oh.
It'll be an NPC for you to use.
That is going to make this interesting, because the Child of Asta is going to perceive this area in a way you guys don't.
And I was thinking that would be as a GM, that is a interesting tool for you to have on the ship.
Yeah, so to explain what a Child of Asta is Asta, just like a human being, tends to favor the mother side or the father side, or maybe is an even mix of the two. In the same way, when Asta are born, they kind of run that same gamut, where they tend to be relatively in the middle of the bell curve. Some of them favor humans, and they look more human than gray alien. Some of them look a bit more gray alien. Some of the ones that are really, really favor the father race, they have very bizarre features, have a somewhat screwed up psychology because their brain isn't quite integrated right, and they also have a weak latent psionic ability. Now, they're not going to be like running around mind controlling you. It's not like that. But
Yeah, when I played one in a previous game, he had like a sixth sense where he could feel things around him. But when he was in a spacesuit, that was all contained.
We had all those paper towels.
No, there's a whole bunch.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, we had like an entire roll of paper towels. Now we have none.
okay, any final comments, questions, whatever? If not, then I'll go the recording here. And like I said, we'll pick up the. I'll give you guys a chance to develop plot hooks, and then we'll also talk about armor, weapons, and general equipment over Discord.
Yeah, I think that's it for now, at least.
Okay, cool. Well, for you guys at home, thank you for tuning in, and if everything goes well, we'll catch everyone again in about 2 weeks.